Chapter 1681. Zhuang Liao Yuan didn't hide his real intention. Although he was not satisfied with Lu Tingxiao, Xiaoxi liked him and was loyal to him. Now he was just an acquaintance to her, so it was not convenient for him to intervene. Seeing that the Lu family had made Cici suffer so much, although he couldn't stand it, he still hoped that this matter could make Cici think it through and leave this brat, so that he could find a better man for her. As for this time, he helped this brat, because it was a matter of great importance. Since he knew about it, he couldn't ignore it. How could Lu Tingxiao not know what Zhuang Liao Yuan was thinking? He said unhurriedly, "Then I may disappoint you. When Xiaoxi and I get married, I hope that Major General Zhuang will come and support us." He sounded as if he and Ningxi would definitely be together. Zhuang Liao Yuan was speechless. He was so angry that he left with a dark face. After Zhuang Liao Yuan left, Lu Jingli clicked his tongue. "Really? Why does Major General Zhuang not forget to poach your girl? You and Lil Cici's baby is already so big. Is it something that he can poach? Pull out the radish and bring out the mud." Well, this metaphor seems to be a bit inappropriate. Anyway, this is what I mean. The next night, in the end, Yin Rui was urged by Lu Chongshan to go to the Guan family. Ziao, your Aunt Lu is here. Come out, don't stay in the room. This girl has been staying in the room all day recently. I don't know what she is busy with, Mrs. Guan said as she led Yin Rui to the door of Guan Ziao's room. Aunt Lu. Guan Ziao heard her mother's voice and hurriedly stood up and closed the book in her hand. However, Yin Rui had already seen the content of the book. It seemed to be a book about children's psychology. She glanced around Guan Ziao's room and found that almost all the books scattered around were about children's education. Yin Rui picked up a book casually. Ziao, these books are? Guan Ziao was a little embarrassed. Aunt Lu, it's nothing. Didn't I say I was taking this course? I was just reading. Reading? How many days have you been staying in a room? I thought you were doing something. So this is what you were looking at. Mother Guan said angrily. Guan Ziao had a guilty look on her face. It's because I'm not good at academics and caused a misunderstanding last time. I'm really sorry. Yin Rui was stunned when she heard that. She looked a little moved. Child, it's been so long, and you still remember it. And he said it's not your fault. You didn't understand Xiao Bao's situation before. At this point, Yin Rui grabbed Guan Ziao's hand and said, just reading books isn't enough. You need to spend more time with him. Once you spend more time with him, you'll naturally understand him. Don't you think so? Guan Ziao and Mrs. Guan looked at each other, clearly understanding what Yin Rui was implying. Yin Rui sighed. Xiao Bao is the only precious grandson in the Lu family. He hasn't had a mother by his side to take care of him since he was young, so it's inevitable that he's a little nervous. I hope Xiao can bear with him. Auntie Lu, what are you talking about? I quite like Xiao Bao. That child is really very likable, Guan Ziao said sincerely. Yin Rui revealed a gratified expression. Sai, it's rare that you're on our Tingxiao side at time like this. You also know that a lot of things have happened to the Lu family recently, but with Tingxiao's ability, he'll definitely be able to resolve it. It's just a matter of time. Chapter 1682. Of course. I trust Tingxiao, Guan Ziao said immediately. Yin Rui nodded in satisfaction. She thought for a moment and said, but I'm still feeling uneasy, so I'm going to pray for blessings at Fahua Temple with Uncle Lu and Xiao Bao this weekend. I wonder if you have the time, Ziao? If you do, why don't you come along? She was trying to create an opportunity for her to spend more time with Xiao Bao. At the same time, she was going to pray with the two elders and the little prince, which was a form of recognition. Guan Ziao and Mrs. Guan looked at each other and nodded. Auntie Lu, I'm free. I don't have to go to the office this weekend. That's great. Yin Rui smiled and chatted with Guan Ziao for a long time. Guan Rui came back not long after Yin Rui left. Dad, you're back. Mrs. Guan walked over to take Guan Rui's jacket. I heard that Auntie Lu came today. Guan Rui asked his daughter. Guan Ziao nodded. Yeah, she came at night. She just left. What did she say? Mrs. Guan poured a cup of tea for her husband, looking displeased. What else could she say? She's here to offer an olive branch. How could she not be anxious when the Lu family is in such a state? Old Guan, Are you sure it's okay for us to side with Lu Tingxiao now? I heard that the illegitimate son has more shares than Lu Tingxiao. Don't be naive. The shares are not absolute. Lu Tingxiao's biggest advantage is his prestige in Lu Enterprises. Moreover, besides what we see on the surface, Lu Tingxiao has many forces under the water that we can't see. Guan Rui said. That's right, Mom. Besides, Lu Tingxiao is the legitimate eldest son. That man is just an illegitimate son, Guan Ziao said. So you're saying that Lu Tingxiao will definitely win? Mrs. Guan asked. Guan Rui glanced at her. How is that possible? That illegitimate son can achieve so much in just a few months. How can he be an ordinary person? His background is even more terrifying than Lu Tingxiao's, but his foundation is unstable. He'll definitely be a formidable opponent in the future. It's still unknown if Lu Tingxiao can beat him. Mrs. Guan panicked. Then why are you still letting Ziao marry him? What if? Hearing this, Guan Ziao also frowned. Guan Rui said unhurriedly, when did I ask Ziao to marry him? What's the rush? Let's wait and see for now. Mrs. Guan was stunned for a moment before she regained her composure. I understand. Then can Yin Rui invite Ziao to the Fahua Temple to pray this weekend? Mrs. Guan asked again. Go, why not? It's not a big deal, you can go. Guan Rui's intentions were clear. He wanted to keep the Lu family in suspense and act according to the circumstances. After all, they had never promised anything. Guan Ziao's eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything in the end and listened to her father's arrangement. The next day, which was the 5th day that Lu Tingxiao and Lu Chongshan had agreed to meet, the situation had reached its climax. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was being forced back step by step, the originally stable members of the Grand Bachelor's Party could no longer sit still. It was obvious that the illegitimate son was a vicious and merciless person. If he didn't change his stance now, when he took over, all of them who were following Lu Tingxiao would definitely be targeted. Chapter 1683. However, Lu Tingxiao had accumulated his power for a long time. They weren't Lu Chongming, who had been exiled, and they weren't Song Lin, who was all alone. They also didn't have the guts like Qi Kaicheng and Liang Diyun to change sides at this time. The fate of those traitors 5 years ago was still fresh in their minds, and they were now in deep trouble. Alas, illegitimate children were indeed the culprits of the aristocratic families. Even the Lu family could not escape from it. Time passed in the blink of an eye. It was the 6th day. It was the weekend. Yin Rui had decided to go to the temple with her family the day before yesterday. She had wanted to ask Ting Xiao and Jingli to go with her, but they were so busy with the company situation that they had no time to do it. As the elders, they could only help. Xiao Bao had recovered these days. Lu Chongshan heard that she had been to the Guan family, and Guan Ziao had said that she would come with them this weekend, so he felt much better. The sun was shining brightly outside the window. It was a good day for going out. Yin Rui got up early in the morning and specially asked the kitchen to prepare vegetarian dishes for charity. Guan Ziao also arrived early. She was sitting on the sofa and talking to Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao did not deliberately make things difficult for her, but his attitude was obviously distant. Yin Rui walked out of the kitchen and saw Xiao Bao looking out the door. She asked suspiciously, Xiao Bao, what are you looking at? Nothing. Xiao Bao looked away. After everything was ready, Yin Rui, Lu Chongshan, Guan Ziao, and Xiao Bao went out together. After going out, Xiao Bao pursed his thin lips and looked into the distance. He did not look too good. Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan asked him questions, but he was absent-minded. When he was about to get into the car, there was a sudden squeaking sound of brakes. A white sports car drifted and stopped outside the old house. Soon, a girl quickly opened the door and got out of the car. Then she ran to Xiao Bao anxiously and held him in her arms. Xiao Bao! Mummy! Xiao Bao's face, which had been tense all morning, burst into a big smile when he saw Ning Shi. Ning Shi looked him up and down carefully, and a trace of suspicion flashed across her face. Baby, what does it hurt? What do you feel uncomfortable? Xiao Bao blinked his eyes guiltily, lowered his head, and said in a low voice, Mom, I'm sorry. Xiaobao lied to you. Xiaobao is fine. It doesn't hurt anywhere, nor is there any discomfort. That's good, that's good. Ningxi's first reaction was to heave a sigh of relief. Then, she had the extra energy to look at the three people behind Xiaobao. With just one glance, Ningxi roughly knew why Xiaobao had lured her here. Xiaobao held Ningxi's hand tightly and walked up to Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui. He looked at Lu Chongshan and said, "Grandpa, you promised. You taught me that a man should keep his word." When Lu Chongshan saw that Ningxi actually came to disturb him at this time, he was originally angry, but after hearing Xiaobao's words, he was immediately speechless. He did promise Ting Xiao that he would give Ningxi a chance, but how did Xiaobao find out? That brat. He only knew how to use Xiaobao to deal with him. Lu Chongshan furrowed his brows. Looking at his precious grandson's determined expression, he knew that if he were to take a hard stance, Xiaobao would definitely be hurt, and today's matter would be completely ruined. Moreover, wasting time prey was not a good omen. Chapter 1684. Guanxiao clenched her fists when she saw how protective Xiaobao was towards Ningxi and even secretly called Ningxi over. She took a deep breath and said generously, "Uncle Lu, Auntie Lu, let Ningxi go with us. It doesn't matter if there's one more person." She spoke as if she was the owner. Lu Chongshan gave Ningxi a warning look. "Then let's go together." Then he looked at Xiaobao lovingly. "Xiaobao, is this okay? Grandpa will keep his promise." Xiaobao nodded, satisfied. Then he looked at Ningxi nervously. "Mom, I'm sorry. Xiaobao knows he's wrong. Can Mom come with us?" Ningxi didn't care about Lu Chongshan, Yan Rui, or Guanxiao's attitude. She only cared about Xiaobao. Ningxi looked at the little guy helplessly. How could she refuse any request of her baby? "Okay, Mom will go with us. But don't do this next time. Do you know how worried I was?" "Got it, Mom. Mom is the best." Xiaobao was getting better at acting coquettishly, and Ningxi couldn't do anything to him. Ningxi called herself Mom because she was used to it. But in Guanxiao's ears, it was no less than a provocation, and her eyes turned colder. After a short while, the five of them got into the car and drove towards Fahua Temple. The Lincoln Stretch limousine was very spacious. Xiaobao, Ningxi, and Lu Chongshan sat on one side, while Guanxiao and Yan Rui sat opposite. Ningxi didn't have time to dress up because she had come in a hurry. While she was worrying, Xiaobao had already taken out a mask, sunglasses, and even a wig from his little backpack. Ningxi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Little rascal, you've been planning this for a long time. This is the inconvenience of being a star. It's too troublesome to go out," Guanxiao said. She seemed to be sighing, but she was just reminding Ningxi of her profession and identity. As expected, as soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chongshan frowned. "Yes, it's too troublesome." Xiaobao nodded solemnly. Guanxiao was delighted to hear that. The next second, she saw Xiaobao sticking to Ningxi's arms, raising his little head and muttering unhappily, "I hate it when so many people like Mommy. Mummy belongs to me alone." After saying that, the little fellow secretly winked at his mother, saying, "Mom, don't worry. Dad is not here. I will protect Mom on his behalf." Seeing Xiaobao's protective look, Ningxi felt touched and amused. She tapped his nose and said, "So what? No matter how many people like Mommy, Mommy only likes you." Xiaobao was soothed, and his smile was even more dazzling than the sunlight outside the car window. Lu Chongshan snorted coldly in his heart. Flowery words, even though the scene before him was what he wanted to see the most. He hoped that Xiaobao would have someone to take care of him, chat with him, and make him happy. But why did it have to be this scheming woman? Along the way, they finally arrived at the Fahua Temple. The monastery's courtyard was deep and filled with old trees. It was very quiet, and the moment one stepped in, it made one feel as if their entire heart had calmed down. The last time she was here, it was Shi Shiqing who wanted to become a monk, so she came to persuade him. Oh, at that time, Master Xian Jing even did a divination for her. In the end, he gave her a peach blossom, hinting that she would have a peach blossom tribulation. Chapter 1685. The five of them bought incense sticks outside and came to the hall to pray one by one. Ning Shi carefully lit the incense for Xiao Bao and taught him how to kneel. Xiao Bao lit a stick of incense and then knelt on the futon very devoutly. He closed his eyes and made a wish seriously. Ning Shi looked at Xiao Bao's devout look and asked with a smile, "Xiao Bao, what did you wish for?" It was rare that the little guy didn't answer Ning Shi. He said seriously, "You can't say it. It won't work if you say it." Okay. Ning Shi chuckled. "But I'm really curious. What is Xiao Bao's wish?" Xiao Bao pursed his lips, looked up at his mother, and then at the Buddha statue in front of him. He silently repeated his wish in his heart. "I hope that my mother can be my mother forever. Buddha, forgive me for being greedy. If possible, I have another wish. I also hope that if I was born by my mother, that would be great. Buddha, please bless our Lu family to get through this great calamity." Yin Rui prayed anxiously and then murmured, "I hope Ting Xiao can get married soon." Ning Shi also knelt, but then she got up and didn't pray for anything. She believed in Lu Ting Xiao, and there was nothing to pray for. Lu Chongshan donated a golden Buddha statue. The little monk put his palms together gratefully and said, "Amit Ba, benefactor, you are so kind. Thank you, Benefactor Lu, for your donation." Lu Chongshan put his palms together and replied, "Amit Ba." Then he asked, "Is Master Xianjing in the temple today? Is he free? I have something to trouble you with today." The little monk said, "Master is in seclusion and can't see you." "I'm sorry." "It's okay. I understand. Thank you." Lu Chongshan looked regretful. He wanted to ask Master Xianjing if there was any solution to the Lu family's problem. Sigh. He had actually reached the point of asking Buddha for help. Although they didn't see Master Xianjing, they didn't leave immediately. In order to show their sincerity, they kept chanting and copying scriptures in the temple. They didn't leave the temple until the sun set. The black car drove quietly. After being out for a whole day, Little Bao yawned and fell asleep in Ning Shi's arms. Ning Shi was infected by Little Bao's sleepiness and also felt a little drowsy. As for the other three, they all had different thoughts, but they were obviously not sleepy at all. "Ning Shi, let me carry Xiao Bao." Yin Rui took Xiao Bao from Ning Shi's hands. Ning Shi reluctantly let go. After leaving her mother's embrace, the little bun frowned uneasily and was carried away by Yin Rui. "Xiao, let's have dinner home tonight." Yin Rui invited Guan Xiao intimately. Ning Shi suddenly appeared today and was so close to Xiao Bao. She was inevitably worried that Guan Xiao would feel uncomfortable. "Let's eat at home. Let's get together as a family today." Lu Chongshan immediately decided. Intentionally or unintentionally, the two directly ignored Ning Shi's existence, not mentioning her at all. Lu Chongshan's face darkened. He did not believe that this woman would still be thick-skinned enough to use Xiao Bao as an excuse to stay after what he had said at this moment. Ning Shi, who was resting with her eyes closed, suddenly opened her eyes, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. "Be careful." Almost at the instant she said that, accompanied by a bone-chilling bang, their car was violently hit. Chapter 1686. "Ah!" Yin Rui and Guan Xiao screamed in the car. The first thing Ning Shi did was check on Xiao Bao. However, the moment she saw him, she was devastated. The car door had been opened at some point in time, and a black figure flashed past at an extremely fast speed. He snatched the sleeping Xiao Bao away from the panicking Yin Rui. Ning Shi's eyes were red. She rushed past Yin Rui at the fastest speed in her life, but she only touched the corner of Xiao Bao's clothes. "Ah! Oh my God! Xiao Bao!" Yin Rui finally came to her senses and screamed on the verge of collapse. Ning Shi had already caught up with the man and fought with him. As soon as they started fighting, Ning Shi's heart sank. That was a professional mercenary, definitely not an ordinary person. Moreover, that man was holding Xiao Bao in his arms. Ning Shi was afraid of hurting him, so she fell into a stalemate. Too many things had happened during this period of time, and Ning Shi had been feeling uneasy, so she had been desperately practicing martial arts. In addition, it was related to Xiao Bao, so her martial arts suddenly soared to the extreme. Finally, she was about to get Xiao Bao back from that man. However, at this moment, another person suddenly attacked her from the side, and every move was overbearing and fierce. Aiming at her vital point, the opponent was a man, so he had a natural advantage in strength. A flying kick broke through the air, wrapped with extremely terrifying force. If this kick landed on the temple, it would be a small matter to faint, and it was possible to directly kick the person to death. Seeing this scene, Yin Rui's body swayed, and she subconsciously let out a cry. At the moment when the killer move came, Ningxi combined her hands and grabbed the man's ankle, cushioning the man's attack. Then her hands twisted the man's leg like a sharp knife, turning it 360 degrees until it was twisted and pressed on the ground, and then she kicked the man's dantian. Ouch! The man let out a muffled groan, and then rolled on the ground in pain. Ningxi didn't entangle with him anymore, and instantly chased after another man. Fuck! The man holding Xiao Bao cursed in a low voice, and his eyes were full of murderous intent, full of fierceness. Stop, if you dare to. However, before he could finish speaking, the other party had already closed in on him like a ghost. Following that, a piercing pain came from his elbow and kneecap at the same time, as though his bones were being crushed. The man immediately cried out in pain and knelt down with a thud. She seized the opportunity, grabbed Xiao Bao, and quickly ran in the direction of the car behind her. She was only a few steps away and had just run to the front of the car, but the two mercenaries behind her had already caught up. One of them grabbed Ningxi's shoulder like an eagle's claw, stopping her from moving forward. She couldn't move, and Xiao Bao was about to be taken away. At this moment, Guanziao was the closest to her and was standing next to the driver's seat, so Ningxi decisively stuffed Xiao Bao in a Guanziao's hand and shouted, "Drive. Let's go." After saying that, he turned around and stopped the two men, hoping to stall for time. As long as they got into the car, they would be safe. The security facilities of this car were very complete. If the driver hadn't betrayed them and opened the door, they wouldn't have been able to take Xiao Bao away so easily. She was thinking about this, and after seeing Guanziao from the corner of her eye, her pupils suddenly contracted. Guanziao seemed to be scared out of her wits, but her face was full of panic. After hearing her urging, she took Xiao Bao and stood there motionless, missing the best time to escape. Chapter 1687. In just a few seconds, one of the men had broken through her obstruction, rushed over with a grim face, and snatched Xiao Bao from Guanziao's hands. At the same time, a huge roar sounded not far away, rolling up the dust and sand. A helicopter hovered in the air and slowly landed. From the helicopter, 3 mercenaries wearing the same uniforms and special masks, as these 2 men jumped down at an extremely fast speed, each with a weapon in their hands. She felt cold all over, and her heart fell to the bottom. It's over, seeing that Xiao Bao was almost rescued, only to be snatched away again. Yin Rui could no longer hold on. Her entire body was trembling, and her face was covered in sweat. She held onto Lu Chongshan's arm and barely managed to stand. All she knew was to repeatedly mutter, "Xiao Bao, save Xiao Bao." Lu Chongshan threw away the unresponsive walkie-talkie in his hand with a gloomy face and said to those people sternly, "Who are you? Put down the child, and you can ask for anything you want." One of them had the letter K engraved on his mask, and it seemed that he was the leader. He glanced coldly at his 2 subordinates who had almost failed. He didn't even look at Lu Chongshan, only giving him a cold look. Then, he raised his hand, and everyone boarded the plane. With the loud roar of the propeller, the helicopter slowly rose into the air. Seeing that Xiao Bao was taken on the helicopter, Yin Rui staggered to chase after them. "Xiao Bao, Aunt Lu, be careful." Guanziao hurriedly supported Yin Rui, who was about to faint at any time. Seeing Xiao Bao being taken away, Lu Chongshan's face turned pale. He covered his chest with his hand, feeling dizzy, and everything went black. "Baby, don't be afraid. Mom won't let you be alone." However, at this moment, Lu Chongshan seemed to vaguely hear Ning Shi's mumbling. In the next second, the girl's body was like a fully drawn bow. The moment the door of the helicopter closed, she leaped up and jumped over. She used her fingers to grab the bottom of the door and forcefully flipped into the helicopter. After Ning Shi got in, the helicopter shook violently, twisted and turned in the air, and then gradually flew away until it disappeared from sight. Yin Rui fell to the ground with a pale face. Guan Ziao stood aside anxiously, and Lu Chongshan was still staring blankly at the empty space above his head. "Master, old madam, are you guys okay?" A cry of alarm came from the side. Xing Wu limped over, clutching his bleeding arm. "What's wrong with you guys? Where is he?" So many people followed him out. "Where do they all go? Do you know that Xiaobao has been kidnapped?" Yin Rui found a way to vent, and finally broke down and roared. No, this wasn't kidnapping. This was kidnapping right in front of them. What? The young master has been kidnapped. Xing Wu didn't expect the situation to be worse than he had imagined. His face paled and he knelt down. "This subordinate deserves to die." The people we were protecting were all ambushed at the same time. The enemy seemed to know our route and the location of the people we were protecting in secret. "Shut up. I don't want to hear your excuses." Lu Chongshan interrupted him. Ever since Xiaobao was kidnapped once, the Lu family security system had been upgraded. But now, Xiaobao had been kidnapped right under his nose. There was no one by his side, and the only person who could stop him was that woman. Chapter 1688. Ting Xiao. Chongshan, tell Ting Xiao, "Hurry up and let him save Xiaobao." Yin Rui hurriedly urged. After a while, she added, "And that girl?" Yin Rui closed her eyes and said in a trembling voice, Fortunately, Xiaobao is not alone this time. With that girl, at least Xiaobao won't be so scared. I can't imagine what would have happened if Xiaobao had been alone." Yin Rui's tears rolled down her cheeks. Thinking that they had made Xiaobao suffer like this again, and what kind of psychological trauma Xiaobao would suffer if Ningxi didn't follow them, she wanted to kill herself. "It's me. It's all my fault. I didn't protect Xiaobao well. Why didn't I hold Xiaobao tightly? Why did I take Xiaobao from Ningxi? If Ningxi had been the one holding Xiaobao..." Yin Rui was drowning in self-blame. Lu Chongshan did not say anything, but his mood was no better than Yin Rui's. If he was not in a hurry to settle the matter with the Guan clan, he would not have come to Fahua Temple today, nor would he have given the other party an opportunity to take advantage of him. Guan Ziao helped Yin Rui up carefully. "Andy Lu, don't blame yourself anymore. How could it be your fault in that situation? It's my fault for not being able to react in time and driving Xiaobao away in time. Master, madam, we can't stay here for long. Let's go back and think about it. Every second we delay now will put the young master in more danger." Xing Wu hurriedly reminded. "Go back. Hurry." On the way, Lu Chongshan couldn't get through to Lu Tingxiao's phone, so he asked Xing Wu to drive him to the company. When they got out of the car in the underground parking lot, they bumped into Cheng Feng, Lu Tingxiao's assistant. Cheng Feng pushed the door open and got out of the car in a hurry. He was talking on the phone with a smile on his face. He looked very excited. "Cheng Feng." Lu Chongshan stopped him immediately. Cheng Feng hung up and looked at Lu Chongshan, Yin Rui, and Guan Ziao in surprise. "Chairman? Madam? It's so late. Why are you here? Where's Ting Xiao? Why didn't he answer the phone?" Yin Rui asked. "Boss Lu must be busy right now." Cheng Feng looked at Lu Chongshan excitedly and reported, "Chairman, Elon Ventures is doomed this time." "What did you say?" Lu Chongshan was startled. "There's a problem with a big order that Elon Ventures is running right now. All the goods don't meet the delivery requirements, so they have to pay a huge penalty. However, the other party has used all their money to buy Lu Enterprises shares, so they don't have that much liquidity right now. If they want to protect Elon, they have to sell off their shares in the Lu Group. You have to know that these shares were bought at double the price. Now that they are short of money, if they sell them off at a low price, even if they protect Elon Ventures, they will definitely suffer heavy losses. Most importantly, This will remove the threat to our Lu group. And Chairman, look at these stocks. Chung Feng quickly clicked on a few of Elon Venture Capital's main investment stocks on his iPad. They were initially bullish stocks that were rising rapidly, but now they were all falling rapidly. Chapter 1689. Chung Feng looked at the movements of those stocks and continued to explain to Lu Chongshan. Boss actually formed a special team half a year ago, and all of them are top traders from Wall Street. Right now, Boss is personally leading this team to trade. If there are no accidents, it will only take one night for Elon to hit the daily limit tomorrow morning. When that time comes, everyone will dump Elon in large quantities. Chung Feng continued to talk about how Lu Tingxiao laid out the net step by step and prepared for a rainy day with a face full of admiration. Lu Chongshan looked at the few stocks on the iPad and was stunned. He did not say a word for a long time. 7 days, the time that Tingxiao promised him was 7 days, and now it was the night of the 6th day. That child, he really did it. No wonder Xiao Bao was suddenly kidnapped. So it was because he was cornered. Chairman, what's wrong? And Madam, Chung Feng finally noticed that there was something wrong with their expressions. Today, Uncle Lu, Auntie Lu, and I brought Xiao Bao to the temple to pray. We didn't expect to meet a group of kidnappers on the way and kidnapped Xiao Bao, Guan Ziao explained. At the same time, the light in her eyes disappeared. She knew that the man she fancied wasn't that weak. No wonder Xiao Bao was kidnapped. It was most likely done by the illegitimate son's people. Those people weren't kind and would do anything if they were forced into a corner. And this time, it wasn't just Xiao Bao. That woman also delivered herself to him. Everything that she had been worried about had actually been resolved tonight. What did you say? Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao was kidnapped. How is that possible? Chung Feng was so shocked that his expression changed. What's impossible? Xiao Bao was kidnapped right in front of us. Don't waste any more time. Hurry and inform Tingxiao. Yin Rui urged. When Chung Feng heard this, he was about to agree, but he seemed to have thought of something and hesitated. Before Chung Feng could speak, Lu Chongshan stopped him. Wait, we can't tell Tingxiao now. What did you say? Yin Rui looked at her husband in disbelief. Why can't we tell Tingxiao? It's already at this time. Lu Chongshan said in a deep voice. Elon Ventures must be fighting back by now. Tonight's stock market trading is extremely important, and Tingxiao must not be affected in any way. Otherwise, if he makes the slightest mistake, all his efforts will go to waste. Why do you think the other party would suddenly go to such lengths to kidnap Xiao Bao? It's to disturb Tingxiao's mind. Yin Rui's lips trembled as she stared at the man in front of her, as though she didn't know him at all. Lu Chongshan, do you know what you're saying? The one who was kidnapped was Xiao Bao. He's your grandson. You keep saying that you sacrificed so much for the greater good of the Lu clan and suffered so much, and now you're going to sacrifice Xiao Bao's life as well? Do you still have a heart? Lu Chongshan frowned. Rui, that's not what I meant. When did I say that I wanted to sacrifice Lil Bao's life? I've already informed everyone to search for traces of that group of people. Moreover, those people will definitely come to us and ask for our lives. At that time, well, enough. Lu Chongshan, you don't have to give me any more lectures. I only know that in your eyes, the Lu clan is more important than Xiao Bao's life. Yin Rui roared uncontrollably. Chapter 1690. Guan Ziao said gently. Auntie Lu, calm down. What Uncle Lu said makes sense. If we tell Tingxiao now, we'll be falling into their trap. What if they get what they want and don't let Xiao Bao go? You shut up too. Yin Rui's heart was filled with thoughts of Xiao Bao being in danger. She scolded her mercilessly. Guan Ziao had never been scolded by Yin Rui like this before. Her face turned pale, and she kept quiet. Lu Chongshan, you're not going to tell me? Fine, I'll go find Tingxiao myself. Yin Rui pushed the person beside her away and quickly walked towards the elevator. Just as she reached the elevator, Yin Rui's body swayed, and she fainted without any warning and fell to the ground. She had suffered too much today. Being able to hold on until now was already her limit. At this moment, she finally couldn't hold on any longer. Rui, Annie Lu, Madam. The three of them rushed over to help her up. Chairman, this. Chung Feng was panicking. Call the doctor immediately. Lu Chongshan said anxiously. Then should we tell the boss about the young master? Chung Feng asked. Lu Chongshan's hands trembled nervously. He closed his eyes, and after a long time, he finally said, Don't tell Ting Xiao yet, but after 12 tonight, if Xiao Bao still can't be saved. Lu Chongshan sighed and said, No matter what the situation is here, you must tell Ting Xiao immediately. Chung Feng nodded. Yes, I understand. Lu Chongshan looked at the unconscious Yen Rui as he listened to her complaints. His heart was aching. He had watched Xiao Bao grow up. He could still remember the excitement he felt when he first saw the little fellow. He could still remember the soft touch when he held the little fellow in his arms. Then, he watched him grow up day by day, becoming smarter and cuter. Now, he was even more obedient, sensible, and filial. That was his grandson, his life. How could he not be nervous? How could he not be heartbroken? He would rather be the one being kidnapped right now. However, this concerned the survival of the entire Lu family. Everything happened because of him. He couldn't ignore everything. Waiting until 12 tonight was the only way he could come up with not long ago. Elon Ventures building. In a dark office, the fluorescent light from the computer screen shone on the man's gloomy face and cold white hair. He was looking at a series of photos, all of which were pictures of Ning Shi and Lu Tingxiao getting along warmly. There were also photos of the family of 3 with Little Bun. They were all taken, but they were extremely realistic. He could feel the love in the girl's eyes through the photos. The email page was opened, and it showed that the sender was not anonymous, but directly stated, Lu Jingli. Without a doubt, this was in line with Lu Jingli's personality. His brother was provoked by those photos every day, so he naturally wanted to give him a taste of his own medicine. Who's afraid of who? Boss, no. Bad news. Suddenly, someone pushed open the door and rushed in. What did you call me? The man looked up at her. President. Mr. President. Not good. There's a problem with our deal with Jiaxing Bank, and now we need to pay 3 billion USD. Just pay for it, but there's no more money. Chapter 1691. Where's the money? The man asked nonchalantly. All of it was used to buy the shares of the 6 companies. Not a single cent was left. You were the one who told us not to worry about it, and to use it all for buying. The man replied in horror. The man raised an eyebrow. Did I say that? You did. The man was about to cry from being tortured by his boss. Just then, the office door was pushed open again. Xiao Yi walked in with a cold expression and continued the man's words. And all the underground trading channels have been exposed. This meant that all their sources of income had been cut off. When the Black Dragon had been rescued in time, they had thought that everything would be fine. They hadn't expected that these channels would still be exposed and the Black Cat would know about it. What exactly had gone wrong? However, there was no time to think about this now. Damn it, this Lu Tingxiao was indeed not simple. Fortunately, he was prepared. Tang Yi, who was behind him, continued. Now Lu Tingxiao has prepared a trading team, and they are attacking our stock market. Yun Shun's eyes, which had always been lazy and uninterested in anything, suddenly shone with an unprecedented light. It was as if there was finally something that interested him and made him take it seriously. Very well, let's play with him. The man moved his fingers slightly, and a complicated stock market chart suddenly appeared on the computer screen. I want to see if the legend of Wall Street is as invincible as he used to be. It would be interesting to defeat Lu Tingxiao in what he was most proud of and best at. He looked at Yunshin's expression and knew that this guy was finally taking it seriously. He was both relieved and worried. He knew that Yunshin was actually the same as Lu Tingxiao. They both had amazing talent and attainments in the stock market. After returning to China, they were able to expand Elon Ventures to this extent in such a short period of time. Money alone was not enough. He really couldn't tell who would win this time. However, he would not allow any possibility of failure. This time he had to win, and he would definitely win, at all costs. Yun Shun waved everyone away and plunged into the sea of data. Tang Yi quickly gathered the company's team and began to fight against the 6 companies. Xiao Yi left and gave a warning look to the man beside him. Don't let Ah Shun know what happened tonight. That child's brain was sometimes too slow, and he was too conceited. Those who did great things did not bother with trifles. So what if he used unscrupulous means? There was no need to talk about morality with someone like Lu Chongshan. Yes, the subordinate answered. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. Yin Rui was still unconscious. Lu Chongshan had mobilized all the secret forces of the 6 families to search for Xiao Bao's whereabouts. At the same time, all he could do was wait for the other party to contact him. Once the other party contacted him, they would definitely make excessive demands. However, as long as the other party contacted him, he would be able to locate them and rescue Xiao Bao. However, time passed bit by bit, and the night grew darker and darker. So many people had been dispatched, but there was still no news from Xiao Bao. The helicopters seemed to have vanished in a thin air, leaving no trace behind. He was not even sure if the other party was still in the country, and the other party had not contacted him either. The originally calm Lu Chongshan's expression finally changed. Chapter 1692. In a villa on the outskirts of the capital. Uncle Xiao. There's been no movement from Lu Corporation. It seems that Lu Chongshan hasn't told Lu Tingxiao about this, and has sent someone to look for us in private. Should we contact Lu Chongshan now? Feng Jin asked. Why should we contact Lu Chongshan? Xiao Yi asked unhurriedly. Feng Jin paused and said, Of course it's to... You think I want to use that child to threaten Lu Chongshan? Xiao Yi asked with a half-smile. Feng Jin's face was full of doubt. Isn't it? Then what do you intend to do? Xiao Yi sat on the wide mahogany chair and looked coldly at the dark night sky outside the window. Deep in his eyes, there seemed to be an ugly and ferocious beast wriggling its body as it tried to break free. Then, he slowly answered Feng Jin's question. Kill that child. As soon as he said this, Feng Jin's pupils shrank and his face was full of fear. What? The man laughed coldly. Why? Are you afraid? Feng Jin lowered his head to hide the shock in his eyes. No, it's just that, what's there to be afraid of? After tonight, everything will be ours. Lu Chongshan is just a stray dog. Feng Jin frowned. Even if that was the case, there was no need to kill the child, right? There could be a safer way. What if they killed the child and caused Lu Corporation to retaliate? Any other questions? Xiao Yi's gaze was like a ghost's as he looked at the man in front of him. Feng Jin shivered and said, No, I'll do it right away. Then, as if he had thought of something, he asked, Then what about Tang Shi? The only variable in this mission was that they had accidentally brought Tang Shi back. At that time, she had almost ruined everything. Could it be that Uncle Qiao wanted Tang Shi as well? At this thought, Feng Jin's hand, which had been maimed by Yun Shun's shot, twitched reflexively. Xiao Yi sighed and said in a seemingly helpless tone, Keep her. It's rare for Ah Shun to have something she likes. Let her see with her own eyes how the child dies. She knew what would happen to traitors. Feng Jin's voice trembled slightly. Yes. After Feng Jin left, Xiao Yi gently caressed the necklace hanging around his neck. He unlocked the lock and opened the small photo inside. His gaze was so gentle, but it was as terrifying as a ghost's. Lu Chongshan, I've let you live so happily for so many years. It's time to come to an end. I'll let you have a taste of what it feels like to lose a loved one. Ha! Ha! His maniacal laughter resounded in the dead silence of the night, sending chills down one's spine. Ning Shi and Xiao Bao were blindfolded and brought to a small room of 20 square meters. There were no windows in the room, only an iron door. There were 2 people guarding the door, and the room was empty. Apart from her and Xiao Bao, there was not even a strand of extra hair. It was impossible to tell where they were. Ever since Shi and Xiao Bao were locked up, no one had paid any attention to them. Time ticked by, and in the blink of an eye, nearly 2 hours had passed. Ning Shi's expression also became more and more solemn as time passed. Xiao Bao, are you scared? Ning Shi hugged the little fellow tightly in her arms. Xiao Bao was held in his mother's warm embrace. His little head shook, but there was no sign of panic on his face. As long as I'm with Mommy. Ningxi's gaze trembled slightly. She gently kissed the little fellow's forehead, hiding the gloomy look in her eyes. Good boy. Chapter 1693. Ningxi was highly nervous, paying close attention to every movement outside. However, the two gatekeepers were like statues. They were so quiet that even their breathing could not be heard. No one else had been here. In the face of her probing inquiry and deliberate conversation, they did not respond. Another half an hour later, Ningxi's face had completely darkened. Someone who had the ability to kidnap Xiao Bao from the Liu family and mobilize an entire A-level mercenary group to kidnap a child must be from the Liu family. And there was only one reason why they kidnapped Xiao Bao. Liu Tingxiao had begun to fight back, and they might not be able to hold on any longer, so they planned to use Xiao Bao to threaten the Liu family. She thought so at the beginning, so she wasn't particularly worried. As long as they had a request, they wouldn't do anything to Xiao Bao. However, as time went by, she found that something was wrong. If they were really going to use Xiao Bao to threaten the Liu family, they should have told Liu Chongshan their purpose as soon as they kidnapped Xiao Bao. Even if they didn't tell them at the beginning, they should have contacted the Liu family after being kidnapped for so long. Otherwise, the longer they waited, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Why didn't they contact the Liu family? Unless, thinking of a possibility, Ningxi subconsciously tightened her arms around Xiao Bao. After a long time, finally, there was a sound of footsteps at the door. The leader, whose mask was engraved with the letter K, was saying something to the two gatekeepers. Ningxi keenly saw something similar to shock in the eyes of one of the gatekeepers. What did that K say? Why did the gatekeeper react like that? They didn't seem to mind her being here, so they didn't speak in a low voice. So Ningxi vaguely heard words like, "This morning, this is an order from the higher-ups. Keep that woman." Ningxi thought about the meaning of these words, and her blood suddenly froze. What did he mean when he said, "Keep the woman"? Didn't they want to keep the child? The footsteps gradually faded away. The leader had left, and the room returned to its deathly stillness. Ningxi's body couldn't help trembling violently. "Mom!" Feeling his mother's violent mood swings, Xiao Bao looked up at her worriedly. Ningxi held Xiao Bao tightly in her arms. "It's okay. It's okay, it's okay. Mommy will never let anything happen to you." Ningxi used all her self-control to calm herself down. In the next second, her expression changed, and she slowly covered her lower abdomen, revealing a painful expression. "Mom!" Xiao Bao, who had been calm just now, saw Ningxi's pained expression. He turned to her anxiously and asked, "Mom, what's wrong with you?" Ningxi couldn't speak. Her whole body started to twitch, and she groaned in pain. "Mom!" Hearing the movement inside, the guard on the right side of the door looked back and frowned slightly. Just as he was about to make a move, someone beside him stopped him. "What are you doing?" Don't do anything unnecessary," his companion warned. The guard hesitated for a moment, then stood back. However, as time went on, Ningxi's reaction became more and more serious. She rolled on the ground in pain and smashed her head against the wall until it bled profusely. Chapter 1694. Little Bun was so anxious that she screamed and hugged Ning. She was rolling on the ground. She cried so hard that she could barely breathe. "Mom!" The guard finally couldn't stand it anymore. "I'll go in and have a look." Before his companion could speak, he said coldly, "That woman has been ordered to stay here. Are you going to take responsibility if anything happens to her?" His companion snorted and reminded him sarcastically, "That's Tang Shi. And don't forget, she's an actress." His companion added, "And she's a very good actress." Obviously, he knew Ningxi very well. Hearing this, the guard who was about to go and hesitantly stopped, but continued to look inside with the corner of his eyes. "Mom, please save my mom." The child cried heartbreakingly and threw himself at the iron gate, begging them to save his mother. Even the specially trained, cold-blooded guards couldn't help but frown. At the same time, the woman lying on the floor twitched less and less frequently, and blood began to gush out of the corner of her mouth. Finally, she lay motionless. Finally, the faces of the two guards outside the door changed. One of them pulled the door open and rushed in, while the other guarded the door vigilantly with a gun in his hand. The guard who rushed in quickly walked up to Ning Shi, kicked her with his foot, and then bent down to check her condition. At this moment, something unexpected happened. The man's leg was swept by a strong force, and he instantly fell to the ground with a thud. The next second, the woman whose forehead was covered with blood and the corner of her mouth was still bleeding looked as cold as ice. She covered the child's eyes with one hand and twisted the man's wrist that was holding the gun with the other. She aimed at the guard outside the door, pressed down on the man's finger, and pulled the trigger. With a puff, the bullet from the silencer entered the guard's forehead. The guard maintained the posture of holding the gun and was about to shoot at her when he fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. There was another PU sound of a bullet entering a body. Another guard's heart was also shot by her. All this happened in the blink of an eye, and there were only 2 bodies left in the room. Yes, she was Tang Shi, and she was an excellent actress. Even if they knew her background, so what? True acting was, no matter how well you knew, the moment she got into character, you would still forget that she was acting. Mom! Xiao Bao pushed his mother's hand away and looked coldly at the 2 corpses on the ground. There was not a trace of fear in his eyes. However, when he looked at his mother, he immediately threw himself at her with an aggrieved expression. Mom, you're fine. Mommy is fine. Mommy lied to them. I'm sorry for making them worry. Ning, she put the gun in the back of her trousers and quickly picked up Xiao Bao. She then found a rope from one of the guards and tied Xiao Bao firmly in front of her. Don't be afraid, baby. Mommy will take you away from here. Just as Ning she finished this, a shrill alarm suddenly sounded in the empty room, and the 2 corpses glowed with a dazzling red light. Damn it! Ning Shi's expression changed as she stared at the red light. He did not expect the 2 of them to have sensors on them. Once the person wearing the sensors died or their body's heart rate and blood pressure were abnormal, it would automatically connect to the system and send an alarm. Chapter 1695. At a villa in the suburbs of the capital. Uncle Qiao. Bad news. What's wrong? Qiao Yi, who had been interrupted from reminiscing about his old friend, looked up unhappily. It's Tang Shi. Tang Shi killed 2 guards and escaped with the child. Feng Jin reported, panting. Where's she? Qiao Yi frowned, looking displeased. It was such a simple mission, but they had failed time and time again. She's still within our control. She shouldn't be able to escape. Although Feng Jin said this, his tone was uncertain. This woman was too unpredictable. Under such tight security and with a child by her side, she had actually managed to kill 2 A-rank mercenaries and escape. Qiao Yi stopped stroking the necklace and stood up slowly. He straightened his sleeves and said, Let's go. You want to go personally? Feng Jin was shocked. I'm not going. Who would dare touch that girl? The man's expression was so cold that it made one's soul shiver. Sure enough, Feng Jin's face turned pale when he heard this. What did Xiao Yi mean? The man shook his head regretfully and sighed. Sigh, that girl is quite talented. She's my teacher, but unfortunately, she chose the wrong path. Then she can't stay. Feng Jin looked at the crazy look in the man's eyes and broke out in cold sweat. At the Liu family mansion. Master, everyone has gone out to look for her, but there's still no news. No one has contacted us either. Lu Chongshan listened to his subordinate's report and looked at the dead silence on his cell phone and phone. He then looked at the clock on the wall that was slowly approaching midnight. His fingers trembled uncontrollably, and the ominous feeling in his heart grew stronger. Master, what will we do now? Do we continue to wait? Xingwu glanced at the clock on the wall, cold sweat dripping down his forehead. It would be midnight in less than 10 minutes. How's the company? Lu Chongshan asked. Xingwu replied, Just now, Changfeng sent word that everything is going smoothly. The share price is falling closer and closer to the buyer's bottom line. If the buyer doesn't protect the shares, they won't be able to hold on. If they protect the shares, it will be a huge loss, and they may not be able to hold on. Lu Chongshan's voice trembled as he said with great difficulty, "Wait, Xing Wu, yes." Time ticked by 1 second after another. It was only a few minutes, but it felt like centuries. Ding-ling-ling. The default ringtone of the cell phone rang like a clap of thunder, exploding in the dead silence of the living room. Lu Chongshan's phone rang, and an unfamiliar number popped up on the screen. The other party had requested a video call. "They're here." Xing Wu's eyes widened. "It's finally here." He knew that the other party would contact him. Lu Chongshan calmed himself down and accepted the call. The next second, the phone screen flashed, and a middle-aged man's face appeared. The man was wearing a navy blue tang suit, and he seemed to be sitting on a high platform. The high light on the platform shone down, revealing an abandoned city. The strong light illuminated every corner of the ruins, leaving no place to hide. "Yin Yi." Lu Chongshan stared at the middle-aged man's face with a dark expression. The man lowered his head and chuckled. "Ha! So Chairman Lu still remembers me? I thought you were forgetful." "Yin Yi, it's not too late for you to stop now. You know what happened back then," Lu Chongshan said in a low voice. The man interrupted him and smiled sympathetically. "Chairman Lu, there's no need to mention what happened back then, and there's no need to play tricks on me. I don't plan on playing meaningless games with you." At this point, the man smiled slyly. "Ha! Tonight, I want to invite Chairman Lu to watch a good show." Chapter 1696. Tonight, I want to invite Chairman Lu to watch a good show. Looking at the man's cold, bloodthirsty, and vengeful eyes, as well as his words, all of Lu Chongshan's calmness and reason disappeared at this moment. He almost broke his voice and roared at Xing Wu. "Inform Ting Xiao. Inform Ting Xiao immediately." "Master, shut up. Hurry." Seeing this, the middle-aged man on the other end of the video happily raised the corner of his mouth. What a pity, it's too late. The moment the middle-aged man's voice fell, the camera on the mobile phone switched to the abandoned ruins under the high platform, and then gradually zoomed in. The image on the camera was very clear. Even at night, the situation below could be clearly seen. Finally, a familiar figure appeared on the screen. It was that woman. Ning Shi hugged Xiao Bao tightly in her arms and quickly rushed out of the complex building. She looked around vigilantly and then ran desperately into the distance. However, she did not know that what awaited her was not a chance of survival, but an inescapable trap that had been planned for a long time, a frenzied massacre. Without warning, a bang, sound of a gunshot came from the mobile phone. "Ah!" Ning Shi let out a low cry, and a flower of blood suddenly burst out from her wrist. Great despair and panic suddenly appeared on Ning Shi's face. Ignoring the gunshot wound on her arm, she hugged Xiao Bao tightly in her arms, raised her head, and looked around at the empty surroundings, as if there were countless giant beasts hiding, waiting to tear them apart. "Mommy!" Xiao Bao immediately screamed, his little face full of horror. "Baby, don't be afraid. That's fake, it's fake. Mommy lied to you." Ning Shi coaxed in an extremely gentle voice, and when the little boy wasn't paying attention, she controlled her strength and quickly patted the back of Xiao Bao's neck. The little boy's panic-filled eyes slowly closed, and he fell into a deep sleep. Ning Shi once again tied Xiao Bao tightly, and then continued to run forward without hesitation. 10 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters, they were about to reach the next checkpoint. Bang! Another gunshot rang out. Ning Shi knelt down on the ground with her right leg. Her back, which was bent like a shrimp to protect the child, trembled and soon stood up again. Dragging her bleeding leg, she continued to run forward at a speed no less than before. Running, he did not stop for even a moment. Even if she knew that she was surrounded by a group of ferocious beasts and had no chance of survival, even if the pain in her leg was heart-wrenching, she still wanted to escape. She wanted to escape. She wanted to escape with Xiao Bao. She had promised Xiao Bao. The other party was like a cat chasing a mouse. Every time he saw that the girl could not hold on any longer, He would purposely ask her to stop so that she could catch her breath. When she almost saw hope, he would smash it into pieces with a single shot: arms, calves, abdomen, ankles. The other party did not shoot her vitals, but shot her up into the sky and back down. Even though the girl knew this and knew that it was a trick, she continued to move forward without hesitation after being thrown down again and again. Enough! Lu Chongshan clutched his heart that was in severe pain as he roared into the phone. I said enough. What do you want? Yinny, what do you want? You want the Lu family, right? I'll give it to you. Let the child go. Let him go. Do you hear me? The middle-aged man's face appeared on the phone. The man looked at the other party's pained expression and laughed maniacally. Huh? What do I want? Lu Chongshan, I want you to be in so much pain that you wish you were dead. I want you to live a life worse than death. I want you to watch the person closest to you die in front of you and be helpless. Chapter 1697. Every word from the man was like a sharp awl that pierced his chest and twisted it violently. The pain in Lu Chongshan's heart became more and more intense, and his face was pale. You. Looking at Lu Chongshan, who was completely out of control, the man sighed and shook his head sympathetically. However, his tone was extremely sarcastic and cold. I didn't expect Chairman Lu to have such a loyal side. I'm really surprised. After that, the man raised his hand to the person next to him. Okay, then let's give Chairman Lu a quick death. Lu Chongshan's eyes widened instantly, and he struggled to speak in a hoarse voice. Yin Yi, how dare you? You. An unbearable pain came from his heart. Lu Chongshan stopped talking halfway, and his vision went black. He fell to the ground with a thud. The phone fell to the ground. The second before he lost consciousness, he clearly saw the cannon shot in the direction of the girl's escape. A thick wall behind the girl collapsed, and the girl disappeared from his sight in an instant. All that was left was a broken wall, and a pool of bright red blood slowly flowed out from the cracks between the bricks, soaking the soil red. Lu Group Building. With a shrill sound, the pen in Lu Tingxiao's hand accidentally scratched the paper, leaving an ugly mark. The man pursed his thin lips and looked at the white paper filled with data in front of him. He frowned, and his face darkened for some reason. Brother, the other party is dead this time. Lu Jingli ran over excitedly. Seeing Lu Tingxiao's expression, he asked nervously, Brother, what's wrong with you? Did we go wrong somewhere? Lu Tingxiao stood up immediately. Where's your sister-in-law? Lu Jingli did not expect him to change the topic so quickly and could not react for a moment. Xiao Sisi? She's at the old house. Didn't Mom and Dad go to the temple during the day? They asked Guan Ziao to stay at home for dinner, and Xiao Bao also asked Xiao Sisi to stay. Boss, come over here. One of the traders ran to Lu Tingxiao in a hurry. Boss, the other party still hasn't made a move. What should we do now? Should we continue to sell the shares in our hands? There are only 70,000 shares left. A voice came from the other side. This was a critical period, and Lu Tingxiao was everyone's helmsman. They couldn't afford to be distracted for even a second. Otherwise, the slightest mistake would cause all their previous efforts to be wasted, and they would be consigned to eternal damnation. Brother, what are you worried about? Xiaobao was here. Little Sisi would not be at a disadvantage. We're so close. Lu Jingli hurriedly urged. He was so close to getting rid of his brother's biggest rival in love. Ignoring Lu Jingli's urging, Lu Tingxiao raised his hand to ask the people around him to wait for a while, and then said to Lu Jingli, Go pick up Ningxi now. I want to see her within my sight. Lu Tingxiao was stunned. Lu Jingli wailed, Brother, are you serious? It's only been 6 days. Everything will be settled tomorrow. One more day won't make a difference. Lu Jingli immediately accepted the order and said, I'll go receive you now. Just as Lu Jingli finished speaking, a figure stumbled in. Eldest young master. Second young master. No, bad news. Young master was kidnapped, and Miss Xiaoxi. Chapter 1698. What did you say? Kidnap? When did it happen? Xingwu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, shit. Why did you tell us what happened in the evening in the early morning? What's going on? Hurry up and tell me. Lu Jingli roared anxiously as he questioned Yang Kai. Lu Tingxiao hadn't said a single word since he'd heard Xing Wu's words. His dark, bottomless eyes were like a huge abyss. Only now did he ask in a voice so cold that it could chill one's soul, "Are they still alive?" Lu Jingli, who was yelling at Xing Wu, suddenly heard Lu Tingxiao's words. He seemed to freeze, and his blood was drained from his body. He didn't tell them what happened in the evening until now, because he didn't want to disturb his brother's mind at such a critical moment. But now, why did he come here to tell them at all costs what happened in the middle of this? Xing Wu knelt down with a thud. His lips trembled for a long time before he finally said, "At present, I don't know if they're alive or dead." Lu Jingli scolded in a trembling voice. "They're alive and they're dead. What do you mean by not knowing if they're alive or dead? They don't seem to be threatening or blackmailing, but..." Xing Wu couldn't go on, but Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli had already understood what he meant. What they wanted was their lives. There was a terrible silence in the air. Lu Tingxiao made a call to someone and instructed them in a low voice. Then, he turned to Xing Wu and said, "Tell me everything that happened." Xing Wu immediately answered, "We were ambushed on the way out of Fahua Temple. The driver was bribed. Young master was taken away by a helicopter. As for Miss Xiaoxi, she chased after them and jumped onto the helicopter." Lu Jingli's eyes turned scarlet. Sister-in-law must have been afraid that Xiao Bao would be alone, so she risked her life to follow them. Lu Tingxiao's face was expressionless. He picked up his cell phone and made a call. Lu Chongshan's weak voice came from the other end of the phone. "Hello, Tingxiao. I'm sorry. I'm sorry this time. You. Hurry." Lu Tingxiao interrupted him. "Send me the video recording of the video call." Lu Chongshan was stunned. After a long time, he said, "Okay." Tingxiao didn't know the exact situation, but he already knew that the other party must have made a video call. But that video, if Tingxiao saw that video, "Father, you don't have to worry that I can't handle it." Lu Tingshan hung up after saying that. Lu Chongshan stared blankly at his phone that had been hung up. If possible, he hoped Tingxiao would never see that scene. But there was a possibility that the video contained an important clue. Soon, Lu Tingxiao's phone rang. He had received a video recording in his mailbox. Lu Tingxiao played the video. In the end, Lu Jingli punched the wall beside him. His fist was bloody. "Those bastards. I'll kill them." As for Lu Tingxiao, it was as if all human emotions had been extracted from him. He was just a pile of cold metal assembled into a machine. From beginning to end, there was no extra expression on his face as he quietly watched the content of the video. At the end of the video, there was a loud bang. The thick wall behind the girl exploded into pieces, burying the girl's body. Bright red blood soaked the ground beneath her. A moment later, two masked men dressed in black walked over from the side with guns in their hands. They roughly dragged the girl's body out from the ground. The girl's body was soaked in blood. Until the very last moment, she maintained her arched posture, blocking all the damage. She subconsciously protected the child in her arms. Chapter 1699. Even Xing Wu's eyes were red, but Lu Tingxiao's face was still expressionless. "Brother." Lu Jingli panicked when he saw Lu Tingxiao's calm reaction. It would have been fine if he had flown into a rage or even gone crazy, but looking at him like this after the video ended, Lu Tingxiao looked at Lu Jingli and said, "I'm sorry." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a loud roar outside the huge floor-to-ceiling window. A helicopter flew over from afar and was hovering over the company. Lu Tingxiao took one last look at the video on the phone, lowered his head, and kissed the phone screen gently. Then he jumped from the balcony and got on the helicopter. Lu Jingli clenched his fists and stared in the direction of the helicopter. He knew that Lu Tingxiao was apologizing because he had to leave at this moment. He had given up his family and the company for Ning Shi and Xiao Bao. Lu Jingli rubbed his red eyes and turned his head away. Bastard! Why did he have to apologize? Why would he care about the company when his wife and children were already in such a state? Was he still human? Little Cece, baby Xiao Bao, nothing must happen to you. Otherwise, he really didn't know what would happen to his brother. There were 4 people on the helicopter that Lu Tingxiao was on. 3 of them were on his side. 1 was piloting the helicopter, the other 2 were locating the other party, and the last one was Tang Lang. Tang Lang repeatedly looked at the video on Lu Tingxiao's phone and shook his head apologetically. I've never seen this place before, and I don't know where it is. However, based on the time, it shouldn't be too far away. The people who can use so many firearms are definitely not in the country. We can definitely find them if we check the borders of the surrounding small countries one by one. It's just a matter of time. Tang Lang's expression changed when he said this. However, the most tricky thing now was the problem of time. Little Junior's sister couldn't wait any longer. From the video, even if Little Junior's sister was still alive at this moment, she must have been seriously injured and wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Not to mention Xiao Bao, whose injuries were unknown. There were so many surrounding countries, and most of them had complex terrain. It was easier said than done to find such a small place in a short period of time. What he was most worried about was that Little Junior's sister and Xiao Bao might have been. After Tang Lang finished speaking, he nervously glanced at the man beside him, a hint of reverence appearing in his heart. His beloved woman and his only son had met with such a mishap, and it was even possible that they were already no longer in this world. Yet, he had held on until now, without losing control and breaking down. Time slowly ticked by. Sure enough, after checking several places and using all his connections and networks, he still couldn't find where this place was. In the video, it was late at night. Other than the places where the strong light was shining, everywhere else was pitch black. It was indeed too difficult to identify. Since the other party wanted to torture them on purpose, he must have chosen the most secretive place. How could he let them find it so easily? Soon, 10 minutes had passed. Lu Tingxiao closed his eyes and remained motionless, as if he was concentrating all his attention to think, calming himself down and thinking. A moment later, Lu Tingxiao opened his eyes and quickly took out his phone to send an email. Then, he made a call. Tang Lang saw that he wasn't looking for someone from the contact list. Instead, he pressed a string of numbers. For some reason, he felt that this phone number was a little familiar. Chapter 1700. After dialing the number, Lu Tingxiao spoke to the other end of the line. Read the email and reply to me in 10 seconds. After saying these 3 words, Lu Tingxiao hung up the phone and sat there quietly. Time passed by second. Lu Tingxiao's phone suddenly lit up with a ding sound as he counted to the 10th second in his heart. Lu Tingxiao opened his email and glanced at it. Then, he said to the pilot, "Turn around and inform everyone. Country F, 31 degrees east longitude, north latitude." When Tang Lang heard Lu Tingxiao suddenly report an address in such accurate coordinates, he could not help but reveal a shocked expression. Who did Lu Tingxiao call? How did he find out the location in 10 seconds? 10 seconds was not enough to watch the video. Unless he knew the location immediately after watching the video and sent an email to Lu Tingxiao. Thinking of this, Tang Lang recalled the number that Lu Tingxiao had just dialed, and he was stunned. He remembered. Wasn't that one of Satan's private numbers? Lu Tingxiao had actually called him? What shocked him even more was that Satan actually sent him the address. Wasn't he the one who kidnapped them? Tang Lang's expression turned serious. Satan, I mean Yinshan, can we trust his words? Will Little Junior's sister and Xiao Bao really be at the place he mentioned? Lu Tingxiao replied, they will be. Finally, the plane arrived at Country F at top speed. Fortunately, Country F shared a border with Huan Nation and was very close to the capital. As expected, Satan did not go far. Soon, they saw a familiar building. From afar, they could vaguely see a building that looked very similar to the one in the video. This should be the place. Satan's address was real. When they got close to that place, they didn't waste any time and immediately got off the plane. However, They did not expect to be surrounded by a group of people as soon as they got off the plane. Tang Lang looked at their terrifying military equipment and the familiar symbols on their bodies. He finally realized that they had taken control of this place. He had no idea that this place was under their control because he had left the organization a long time ago. He guessed that this place was their trump card. If it weren't for Cloud Depths, no one would have known about this place. Seeing Ning, Shi, and Xiao Bao were just near the building behind them, but they were blocked by a group of people. Lu Tingxiao, who had been calm and composed all the way, finally burst out a horrifying rage. However, even if they had the upper hand, it would still take a lot of time to deal with this group of people. At this moment, a silver helicopter descended from the sky. Before the helicopter had fully landed, a person jumped down from it. The man's silver hair danced wildly in the strong wind caused by the propellers. He looked at the people in front of him with the same hostility as Lu Tingxiao. The moment the man appeared, the people who were blocking Lu Tingxiao's way immediately revealed expressions of fear and awe. One of the leaders quickly stepped forward and said in fear and trepidation, "Satan, we were ordered by Uncle Xiao to stand guard here. Scram!" Before the leader could finish his words, he met the other party's bone-chilling gaze. He immediately broke out in a cold sweat and did not dare to say a word more. He retreated and made way for the other party. The others also retreated like a receding tide, opening up a path. Chapter 17:01. Where are they? The leader's body trembled. Uncle Xiao asked someone to take care of them. I'm afraid they're all ready. Before he could finish his words, he was kicked unconscious. Lu Tingxiao, Yin Shun, and Tang Lang, whose expressions had changed drastically, quickly ran inside. As soon as they stepped into the ruins in front of the building, Yin Shun, who had been walking in front, suddenly stopped and clenched his trembling fingers into fists. Lu Tingxiao didn't stop. He walked past him and continued to move forward. Lu Tingxiao had walked far away, but Yin Shun was still standing there, motionless. Tang Lang thoughtfully turned around to look at the man behind him. He seemed to have vaguely seen a flash of panic and helplessness in the man's eyes, which had always been absent-minded. Was he afraid? Afraid that he might see his junior sister's corpse later. Tang Lang was very surprised when Yin Shun gave Lu Tingxiao the address, but now he seemed to understand. Could it be that Yin Shun had no idea that Xiao Bao and Ningxi had been kidnapped? Although he couldn't rule out the possibility that Xiao Yi had done these things behind his back, how could Lu Tingxiao be so sure that Yin Shun would help them? He had known this man for so long, but he didn't dare to say that he completely understood his character and was sure that he would do something or not. Finally, they arrived at the ruins that had appeared in the video. The smell of gunpowder was mixed with a strong smell of blood. When they arrived, everyone was stunned. It was quiet in the ruins of the city. Apart from the whistling wind, there was no other sound. What was even more strange was that along the way, they saw some mercenaries lying on the ground. Tang Lang walked closer to check and was suddenly shocked. These people are all dead. Seeing that there were no wounds or bloodstains on them, he thought they were just unconscious, but when he walked closer to check, he found that they were all dead. Not only that, but these people had died in the same way. They had all suffered serious internal injuries, and their internal organs had been directly shattered. They had died on the spot. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao had quickly walked toward a pile of rocks. Next to the pile of rocks were the bodies of two mercenaries. The guns in their hands were scattered on the ground, and there was a large patch of dark red blood that hadn't dried up yet. What's going on? Tang Lang looked around vigilantly. At this moment, Yin Shun also caught up. He stared at the bloodstains on the gravel and then glanced at the mercenaries' corpses. His face turned gloomy. After giving a look to his subordinates, someone immediately brought the small leader over. Where is he? Yin Shun asked with a gloomy face. The leader scanned the surroundings and looked at the mercenaries who seemed to be dead on the ground. He was shocked. They were here just now? How did this happen? Uncle Joe even specifically told them to clean up the corpses. The leader stole a glance at Lu Tingxiao. Send the body to the Lu family. Has anyone come in? Lu Tingxiao asked. The leader looked at Lu Tingxiao and didn't reply. He felt that he couldn't answer his sworn enemy's question in front of his boss. In the end, the next second, his boss kicked him. "I'm asking you a question. Has anyone else been here besides us?" The leader hurriedly replied, "No. Apart from you, no one else came in here. No one had ever gone out. We have people guarding this area. If anyone enters or exits, I will definitely know." Chapter 17:02. There were guards everywhere, but none of them noticed anyone coming in and out. Lu Tingxiao, Yun Shun, and Tang Lang's expressions changed when they heard that. Judging from the traces at the scene and the way the mercenaries died, there's only one person. This person actually avoided so many guards and even killed these mercenaries without anyone noticing. Tang Lang frowned as he spoke. Little junior sister and Xiao Bao were probably taken away by him. But is he a friend or a foe? Why'd he take them away? "I don't remember such a person," Yun Shin muttered. Tang Lang's expression was solemn. "That's why I'm wondering where he came from. Even if Tang Yi and I work together, it's impossible for us to take two people away without a trace under such tight security. These mercenaries just died not long ago. The person must still be in Country F, split up and search everywhere." Lu Tingxiao immediately ordered all the men he brought with him. "Gather everyone. Search the entire city inside and out." Yin Shun's face darkened as he gave the order. "Pass," Lu Tingxiao said coldly to the silver-haired man before him. If they did not have the pass, they would definitely fight with Yun Shun's men during the search, which would delay their time. Yun Shun glanced at the leader. "Give them the pass." The leader didn't dare to have any objections. He quickly gave everyone that Lu Tingxiao had brought over a pass. At this moment, he was almost dumbfounded. Weren't these two sworn enemies? Why does boss listen to Lu Tingxiao? Even Tang Nuo's heart skipped a beat when he saw this strange scene, let alone the leader. After getting the pass, Lu Tingxiao did not delay any further and quickly left with his men. The two groups of people quickly filled every corner of every city. China, the Lu family's old residence. At this moment, Lu Chongshan was lying weakly on the bed in his bedroom with an 4-drip in his hand. Xingwu pushed the door open hurriedly. "Master, is there any news from Tingxiao?" Lu Chongshan struggled to sit up. "Master, the doctor said you can't get up yet." Xingwu went over to help him. "Stop talking nonsense. Tell me how it is," Lu Chongshan urged. Xingwu's expression was unsightly, and he looked very hesitant, as if he didn't know what to say. Lu Chongshan looked at Xingwu's expression and felt a chill run down his spine. His body began to tremble violently. Is it already?" Seeing that Lu Chongshan misunderstood, Xingwu hurriedly explained, "No, young master and Miss Xiaoxi seem to be missing. Lost, disappeared? How'd he go missing?" Lu Chongshan's face was full of shock. "I don't know the details, but it said that young master has found the place where young master and Miss Xiaoxi were kidnapped, but he didn't find them when he arrived. Now he's looking for them in Country F." Xingwu hurriedly comforted her. "Actually, it's good news that we can't find them. At least they're still alive. Master, don't worry. Otherwise, if something happens to you, young master will be distracted. Where's Xiao Bao? Where was Xiao Bao? Is Xiao Bao back yet? Had Xiao Bao been rescued? Huh?" While Xingwu and Lu Chongshan were talking, Yin Rui, who had just woken up, pushed the door open and walked in. Chapter 17:03. Xingwu felt a headache when he saw who it was. "It's over. Old Madam Xingwu, Chongshan. Where's little treasure? Where was Xiao Bao? Have you already redeemed Xiao Bao?" Yin Rui grabbed Xingwu's arm. Looking at Lu Chongshan lying on the bed, her face was filled with fear. "Did something happen to Xiao Bao? Tell me, did something happen to Xiao Bao? Otherwise, why would Chongshan get sick?" Lu Chongshan's face was filled with fatigue, and he hurriedly tried to calm her down. "Rui, calm down. No, Xiao Bao's fine. Tingxiao has already gone to save him." After saying that, he glanced at Xingwu. Xingwu received Lu Chongshan's warning gaze and hurriedly added, "Old master is right. Old madam, Young master has already gone to redeem them. We'll be able to bring him back soon. Really? Yin Rui's expression softened. She reached out and clutched her chest. Then why? Why can't I calm down? I felt the same way the last time Xiao Bao was kidnapped. Can Ting Xiao save Xiao Bao? Xiao Bao will be fine, right? Definitely not. Since the other party has proposed an exchange, as long as we satisfy their demands, the young master will definitely be fine. Old madam, please wait patiently. You still don't believe in young master? Xing Wu's tone was firm. All right. I'll go and chant the sutras. I'll go and ask the Buddha to bless us, Xiao Bao. And that girl. Yin Rui nodded and left the room in a daze. Xing Wu and Lu Chongshan heaved a sigh of relief. After Yin Rui left, Lu Chongshan picked up his phone and clicked on the video again, trying to see if he could find any clues that he had missed before. Unfortunately, he found nothing. After a while, Yin Rui knocked on the door and entered with a cup of ginseng tea in her hand. Chongshan, have some ginseng tea. Lu Chongshan quickly put down his phone. All right, don't be so busy. Take a rest. I'm fine. I can't stay idle. Yin Rui's face was still filled with fear as she said to Lu Chongshan, Chongshan, do you remember? Master Xianjing said that the lass had unparalleled luck and could turn misfortune into blessing. That lass also followed them. Her good fortune will protect our Xiao Bao. So our Xiao Bao will be fine this time, right? Don't doubt these things. Sometimes they really work. Lu Chongshan nodded in agreement. Yes, it will be fine. I don't doubt it. I believe you. Yin Rui felt a little better, probably because she had spiritual sustenance. She took Lu Chongshan's teacup and walked out. Lu Chongshan didn't notice that when Yin Rui left with the teacup, she secretly took his phone with her. By the time Lu Chongshan noticed his phone, it was already too late. In the next second, his wife's terrified scream came from outside the door. After a bang, there was no more sound. Lu Chongshan quickly pulled out the needle and stumbled out. Then he saw that his wife had fainted, and the phone beside her was playing the video recording. In the end, Yin Rui still didn't believe them. She probably saw him looking at his phone, so she stole his phone to look at it. Old madam, wake up. Xing Wu pinched Yin Rui's philtrum. Yin Rui slowly woke up and sat on the cold ground in a daze. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with a chill that sent chills down one's spine. Xiao Bao is dead. My Xiao Bao is dead. Is it? Chapter 1704. No, madam, it's not what you see. But it doesn't mean he's dead. Xing Wu couldn't go on. Everyone knew that it was very unlikely for them to survive in such a tragic situation, especially for the girl. My Xiao Bao is dead. My good grandson, Xiao Bao is dead. Yin Rui's eyes were empty. She kept murmuring this sentence, and then her face was full of panic and helplessness. It's my fault. It's my fault. I killed Xiao Bao. Why did I take Xiao Bao from Ningxi? If Ningxi had been holding Xiao Bao wouldn't have been taken away. I didn't hold Xiao Bao in my arms. I let Xiao Bao be taken away. I killed my grandson. It's me. In the end, Yin Rui broke down completely. She pounded her chest with all her might and choked with sobs. Grandma hurt you. Grandma hurt you. My Xiao Bao. Lu Chongshan took his wife into his arms. Rui. All right. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Do you hear me? It's me. Everything happened because of me. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Uncle Lu, Auntie Lu, what's wrong? Guan Ziyao's voice came from the door. Behind her were her parents and her brother, Guan Zihao. You vicious woman. Give me back Xiao Bao. Give me back Xiao Bao. At that time, Ningxi had already rescued Xiao Bao and handed him over to you. Why didn't you drive away with Xiao Bao? Why didn't you save Xiao Bao? Why did you give my grandson to those gangsters? Why did you kill my Xiao Bao? No. Auntie Lu, I didn't. I was so scared that I forgot to react. I really didn't mean it. Auntie, believe me, I'm going to kill you. Kill you. Yin Rui's elegance and nobility had all disappeared without a trace at this moment. It was as if she was a lunatic who would not let go of Guan Ziyao. It took a long time for the others to recover from their shock. They hurriedly tried to calm him down. The scene was a mess. Doctor, call the doctor. Give Madam a sedative injection, Lu Chongshan shouted. After struggling for a long time, Yin Rui was finally pulled away and pressed down by someone. The doctor gave her a sedative injection before she finally calmed down. Guan Ziyao's cheeks were red and swollen. Her hair was messy, and there were bloody scratches all over her exposed skin. She was supported by Guan Ziyao's mother and stood there in a trance. I'm sorry. Uncle Lu, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean it. It's all my fault. Lu Chongshan was powerless to comfort Guan Ziyao, and he said tiredly, something happened to Xiao Bao. Rui is quite emotional. Guan Rui's expression changed slightly. He stepped forward and asked, what did you mean when you said that Xiao Bao was killed? Could it be that Xiao Bao has already? Chapter 1705. Could Lil Bao be dead? Hearing this, Guan Ziao, and Mrs. Guan looked at Lu Chongshan together. Lu Chongshan's expression was grim as he answered ambiguously. We're not sure about Lil Bao's condition yet. Ting Xiao has already gone to look for him. Not sure. That meant his life and death were uncertain, and the odds were against him. Guan Rui's eyes flickered as he said sorrowfully, it's our Ziyao's fault. She's a timid girl and wasn't able to help much. She's been blaming herself for a long time, and I'm really worried, so I came over to ask about the situation. I'm really sorry. Guan Zihao also consoled him. Uncle Lu, we're all very sad about Lil Bao. Please take care of yourself. The entire Lu family and the company depend on you. If there's anything you need our help with, just let us know. We'll do our best to help. Thank you, but that won't be necessary for now. I'm sorry. We can't entertain guests today. Please go back first. Lu Chongshan said casually and sent the guest away. Outside the Lu residence. After getting into the car, Mrs. Guan's expression changed. She checked Guan Ziyao's wounds with heartache. Damn it, that Yin Rui is the daughter of a wealthy family. How is she a rich lady? She's a shrew. Look at how badly she beat our Ziyao up. She's too ruthless. Forget it. Her only precious grandson is dead. It's normal for her to be a little crazy, Guan Rui said, sounding like he was in a good mood. Didn't you say you're not sure? How do you know he's dead? Mrs. Guan asked. Don't you know Lu Chongshan's personality? He must have kept it a secret from Lu Tingxiao to protect the company and forced him to kill the hostage. Otherwise, why would Yin Rui be so agitated? Something must have happened, and it bodes ill. Guan Rui opened his mouth and analyzed. Then what about Ningxi? Guan Ziao touched her red and swollen cheek with a gloomy face and asked. Guan Zihao said, Little Crown Prince is dead. How could an insignificant person like her be spared? She'll die even earlier. But that woman is quite skilled. Will she ruin things? Guan Ziao asked worriedly. Guan Zihao raised an eyebrow. Are you joking? No matter how powerful that woman was, she was only one person, and a woman at that. What could she do against a group of kidnappers? Just wait to be the young mistress of the Lu family. But this incident has made Auntie Lu so estranged from me. Guan Ziyao's face was full of worry. Mother Guan said nonchalantly, Silly girl, she's just sad that she lost her grandson. When you give her another one, how could she not like it? He still treats you like a treasure. A mother's status depended on her son's. These 4 words were applicable everywhere. That's why I said that Lu Tingxiao's illegitimate son can't be left alive. The Lu family values this child too much. If they leave all the family assets to him in the future, wouldn't it be a great loss for us to have a marriage alliance with the Lu family? Even if nothing happened to the child this time, we will definitely find a way to get rid of him in the future. This time, it really saved us a lot of trouble, and we even killed 2 birds with 1 stone. We even got rid of that woman. Guan Zihao laughed. Mother is right. Sister, don't worry. Let's go back and celebrate tonight. We should be able to hear the good news of that little bastard tomorrow. Chapter 1706. In Country F, Lu Tingxiao and Yun Shun had sealed off Country F and almost turned the entire country upside down, but they still couldn't find Ningxi and Xiao Bao. Logically speaking, with a woman and a child in tow, it was impossible for the other party to disappear without a trace. Time was ticking away. Ning Shi and the baby would be in more danger if they were delayed for one more second. After another half an hour, Lu Tingxiao and Yun Shun met up in the city. They exchanged a look and knew that they hadn't found the other party. For a moment, the atmosphere was stagnant. Country F was very small, not even as big as some cities in China. Such a long time was enough for them to search several times, but they still couldn't find any trace, as if the other party had disappeared into thin air. Annie had been picked up by Yun Shun and was following him closely in order to treat Ning Shi and Xiao Bao as soon as possible. Lu Tingxiao glanced at Annie. How long can they last? Annie's face was solemn. Xiao Bao has been in Brother Shi's arms, so I can't see her injuries clearly, so I can't make a judgment. As for Brother Shi, she was shot in her calf, arm, and abdomen. The most fatal one was the last shot. I guess her internal organs must have been seriously injured, and her head must have been badly injured. Annie couldn't go on. Even if she didn't die on the spot, if she didn't get timely treatment, she won't last long. Annie didn't answer how long Lu Tingxiao could last because Ning Shi was so seriously injured and they had been delayed for so long. She might have already. After Annie said that, there was a dead silence in the air, and the two men looked terrible. After a moment of torturous silence, Lu Tingxiao suddenly said, "Let's go back to where we were just now." Yin Shun's eyes flickered. "We were just now? What do you mean?" Tang Lang exclaimed. "That's right. We've been looking for so long, but we still can't find them. Could it be that they haven't left at all?" Therefore, a group of people rushed to the place where Ning Shi and Xiao Bao disappeared and began to search every inch of the ruins and buildings of the ruined city. Shin, just as Lu Tingxiao, Yun Xin, and the others were racing against time to find the person, an angry voice suddenly came from behind them. Hearing this voice, Yun Xin narrowed his eyes and turned around. There was a bone-chilling coldness in his eyes. Xiao Yi's face was full of anger as he strode towards a man. "Shun, are you crazy? He's not in the company. What are you doing here? What nonsense? Don't you know why I came here, Uncle Xiao?" The man asked coldly. "Shun, I didn't tell you about this because I didn't want to affect you. Everything I did was for your own good, and now you will destroy everything we have. I order you to return to the company immediately." Xiao Yi shouted angrily. Yun Shen chuckled in a low voice. Order me." "Xiao Yi, who do you think you are to me? Who do you think you are? My uncle? Are you worthy? Are you even worthy of using the surname Yin?" "Yin Shun." Xiao Yi's expression suddenly changed, and he flew into a rage. Tang Lang, who was next to Yun Shun, and Tang Yi, who was next to Xiao, were extremely surprised when they heard their conversation. What? Xiao Yi was actually Yun Shun's uncle. Chapter 1707. Xiao Yi used the name Tang Yi to outsiders. Only his own people knew that his real name was Xiao Yi. However, after hearing the conversation between the two of them, they were surprised to find that Xiao Yi had another name, another identity. He and Yunshin actually had such a shocking relationship. Xiao Yi's expression was not much better. It was extremely gloomy. "Yunshin, how dare you talk to me like this just for a woman? Are you going to watch everything we've done for so many years go down the drain just for a woman? Have you forgotten how your mother died? Do you want her to have no peace in the underworld?" Tang Lang, who was standing opposite him, picked his ears and complained to himself. It was this line again. He had heard it so many times that his ears had calluses. Couldn't he say something else? Hearing Xiao Yi's words, Yunshin lowered his head and chuckled. "Yes, that's right. It's for a woman." At this point, the man abruptly withdrew the smile on his face. His eyes, which had always been careless, were now filled with an overwhelming gloominess. "I warned you long ago. Don't touch her." Xiao Yi looked at the expression on Yunshin's face, and his heart skipped a beat. In fact, he was already regretting it. He knew Yunshin's character too well. It was difficult for anyone to enter his heart, But once he drew someone into his territory, he would completely include them in his territory and would not allow anyone else to touch them. He had indeed gone too far this time. But when he thought of what had happened in the past and saw Lu Chongshan's face, he couldn't help but get rid of that traitorous girl as well. He hadn't expected Yunshin's reaction to be more intense than he had imagined. This time, even his mother couldn't restrain him. Yunshin, it's just a woman. You can have as many as you want in the future. A traitor isn't worth it for you to do this for her. Come back with me now. Before Xiao Yi could finish his sentence, Lu Tingxiao and his men had just finished searching the building behind him and walked out. Xiao Yi's expression suddenly changed. He immediately ordered all his men, capture Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao's expression didn't change at all. He walked straight to Xiao Yi and stopped opposite him. Xiao Yi sneered and said, "Boss Lu, you're really brave. There's a way out for you, but you're barging into hell." As he spoke, Lu Tingxiao and his men were surrounded by Xiao Yi's men. Damn it, since I can't persuade Yunshin, I'll just get rid of Lu Tingxiao once and for all. At this time, Yunshin took 2 steps toward Lu Tingxiao unhurriedly. He glanced at the crowd lazily and said, "I'd like to see who dares to touch him. You, Cloud Depths, have you really gone mad? Do you know what you're doing?" Xiao Yi was in disbelief as he looked at the 2 people standing side by side. He couldn't believe that Yunshin would help Lu Tingxiao. Now that Lu Tingxiao was in his territory, he didn't want to miss out on such a rare opportunity. Xiao Yi didn't have time to think and immediately ordered, "Everyone attack." The surrounding subordinates looked at each other. For a moment, no one dared to move. "How dare you disobey my orders?" Xiao Yi was furious. The people he had brought here were all his trusted subordinates, and Country F was under his control. But now, these people were not listening to his orders. Chapter 1708. Xiao Yi's chest heaved violently, and his face was filled with disbelief. In order to prevent Yunshin from losing control like today, he had single-handedly controlled the most important forces in the dark. Yunshin didn't seem to care about these things and had never said anything about it. He had shown great trust in him and left everything to him. He had thought that he had really controlled everything all these years, but only now did he realize that he had underestimated the person in front of him. Yunshin adjusted his cuffs, and a trace of impatience flashed in his eyes. He said faintly, "Send Uncle Qiao back to rest. He's getting old. Staying up late isn't good for his health." Seeing that Xiao Yi was forcibly taken away, Feng Jin lowered his head and didn't say a word, trying to reduce his presence as much as possible. He was one of Xiao Yi's most important confidants. If Xiao Yi and Yunshin fell out, he would be the first person Yunshin dealt with. Although Tang Yu wanted to say something, he also knew that he couldn't change the current situation on his own. If he said anything more, he might anger Yunshin, so he could only keep quiet. At this moment, the man in front of him had torn apart the layer of harmless and indifferent facade. The violent, bloodthirsty, and sick side of him was raging like a time bomb that could explode at any time. "Keep looking. If you can't find her in 3 minutes, all of you will be buried with me." 3 minutes? They couldn't find a trace of her after searching for so long. How could he find her in 3 minutes? The scene instantly became deathly silent. Looking at the tyrant in front of them, the people who had participated in this kidnapping were filled with regret. However, they were just following orders just when everyone was shrouded in the shadow of death. Lu Tingxiao, who was working quickly on a computer, said coldly in the direction of the man, "Come here. Are you calling for a dog?" A trace of displeasure flashed in the tyrant's eyes, but he still walked over. Lu Tingxiao said, "What's the password?" Yunshin glanced at Lu Tingxiao's computer screen, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. "You found it. F City was almost a wasteland, and the surveillance in the city was almost destroyed." What Lu Tingxiao found was the only surveillance network in this abandoned city. When he first took control of F Country, the password for Skynet was reset by Yunshin. "Password," Lu Tingxiao urged impatiently. Yunshin pursed his lips. "That girl's birthday. Lu Tingxiao, Tang Lang, and Tang Yi. For such an important password, why would you use such a simple number like birthday? No, that's not the point. Most importantly, this guy actually used Junior Sister's birthday as the password. Fuck. I couldn't tell that this pervert had the heart of a young man. Tang Lang crossed his arms over his chest and whispered into Tang Ye's ear. After a short pause, Lu Tingxiao quickly entered Ning Shi's birthday and then retrieved the surveillance video of that time. Compared to the blurry video on Lu Chongshan's phone, this surveillance camera had a bird's-eye view of the entire abandoned city ruins. The equipment was considered high-end, and it was still very clear at night. The effect was much better than the video on Lu Chongshan's phone. Even the expressions on people's faces could be seen clearly. Lu Tingxiao immediately adjusted the surveillance to the time when those people were preparing to deal with Ning Shi. Then, he wanted to see what had happened and who the mysterious person who had suddenly appeared was. Chapter 1709. On the screen, Ning Shi was dragged out from under a pile of rocks by two mercenaries. The girl was covered in wounds and blood. It was hard to tell whether she was dead or alive. Xiao Bao, who was in his arms, was also covered in blood. It was hard to tell whether it was his blood or Ning Shi's. One of the mercenaries kicked Ning Shi and cursed, "Bitch, you killed two of our brothers." Another mercenary next to him said impatiently, "Stop talking nonsense. The higher-ups have ordered for death by dismemberment. Hurry up. Don't let anything happen." TSK. The most interesting thing about death by dismemberment is that it's carried out when people are awake. They can only watch as their flesh is cut off piece by piece until only the bones are left. It's really boring now. But what do you think Lu Chongshan's expression will be when he sees his grandson turned into a pile of minced meat? Most of these vicious mercenaries were psychopathic. They were bloodthirsty and took pleasure in torturing people. At this moment, they were all looking forward to it. It's a pity for such a little beauty. With her skills, if she leaves this little brat behind, she actually has a chance to escape. TSK. Beauty first. I'll start with you first. The mercenary held a gleaming knife and approached the girl with a sneer. Lu Tingxiao and Yun Shun, who were staring at the screen, suddenly changed their expressions. The surveillance camera couldn't hear the sound, but after zooming in, they could roughly hear their conversation through lip language. The mercenary approached Ning Shi with a cold and happy expression. He used the knife to cut a wound on Ning Shi's arm, and blood immediately gushed out. Just as he was about to continue, the mercenary thought of something and stopped his action temporarily. He took out something from his pocket. It was a silver whistle the size of a thumb, engraved with simple patterns. He had found this whistle on the woman's body before. Because he recognized that the pattern had a great background, he secretly kept it. The mercenary looked at the pattern totem and then at the woman. He looked a little hesitant. How could this woman have such a thing? She couldn't possibly be related to that legendary family, could she? But that's impossible. So, how did this thing appear on this woman's body? There were very few people who knew about this totem symbol. It was impossible for it to appear on a whistle. Also, what was this thing used for? The more the mercenary thought about it, the more confused he became. He picked up the whistle and blew it. It looked like a whistle, but it didn't make any sound. It seemed to be solid inside. Then, he fumbled with the whistle and continued to look at it carefully. "Hey, what are you waiting for?" Only when someone urged him did the mercenary put the whistle back. "Fuck, where's Cui Hun? What's the rush? Do you think he can escape?" Forget it. No matter where this girl came from or what relationship she had with that family, she had to die today. Besides, that family only existed in legends. How could it be true? After this short interlude, the mercenary picked up his knife again and approached the girl. At this moment, the mercenary with a bloodthirsty smile on his face suddenly widened his eyes and fell to the ground. "Who? What's going on?" The surrounding mercenaries raised their weapons and looked around cautiously. However, they didn't even see the silhouettes clearly before they silently fell to the ground one by one. The entire abandoned city was left in a deathly silence. Chapter 17:10. Then a man appeared in the image. He had long black hair and was as beautiful as a fairy. The man took out the whistle from one of the mercenaries and walked in front of Ning Shi. He opened his thin lips and said, "You're really lucky." After saying that, he bent over and picked up the girl, disappearing in a few leaps. Tang Lang and Tang Yi exclaimed at the same time when they saw the man. "Fuck! It's him! It's him! Do you know each other?" Yinshan asked. Lu Tingxiao also frowned. He had seen that whistle in Ning Shi's hand. At that time, Ning Shi said that a powerful master owed her a favor and gave it to her. She said that the master would come to save her, but it seemed that there was an accident. Ning Shi didn't have time to think of this whistle and blow it in time before it was taken away by those mercenaries. At the last moment, the mercenary blew the whistle by himself, and the expert must have been nearby, which was why he was able to rush over so quickly. No wonder that man said, "You're lucky." Lu Tingxiao was shaken to the core just by imagining it. The master that Ning Shi mentioned should be the man in the image. Since the man owed Ning Shi a favor, he should be a friend and not an enemy. Tang Lang was extremely excited as he said, "This guy interrupted my duel with Tang Yi that night, and the man who beat the shit out of him, Tang Yi, and I couldn't even get close to him. He's a freaking monster. Why did this guy appear here to save Little Junior's sister? How did he know Little Junior's sister? That's not the point. I think he went to the cemetery." Tang Yi said. "The cemetery?" They didn't have time to think and immediately led everyone to the cemetery. The cemetery was very close to them, but they had already patrolled the area and didn't find any traces. They finally arrived at the cemetery and patrolled it again. As expected, they found nothing. At this moment, a creepy creaking sound came from somewhere in the gloomy graveyard. Everyone straightened their backs and looked in the direction of the sound. Accompanied by the sound of the gates of hell opening, a man's cold voice suddenly rang out in the cemetery. "Hey, you guys, who is this girl's man?" Lu Tingxiao, Yin Shun, Tang Lang, Tang Yi, and the other subordinates rushed toward the man. When they got closer, they realized that it was indeed the man in the surveillance camera. Hearing the man's question, Yin Shun frowned slightly. "It's me. Who are you? Where is Tang Shi?" The man furrowed his brows and said seriously, "I hate lying." Yin Shun was speechless. How could this guy say that he had deceived him? The man ignored Yin Shun's ugly expression and looked in Lu Tingxiao's direction like an eagle. "It's you, right? You look exactly like that little guy." "It's me." Lu Tingxiao ignored Yin Shun's expression and quickly walked toward the man. At this moment, an ancient tomb appeared behind the man. There were oil lamps on both sides, and it was so deep that one couldn't see the bottom. "Follow me." The long-haired man walked down. As soon as Lu Tingxiao followed him in, the door immediately closed and disappeared into the weeds without a trace. Chapter 17:11. After passing through a long corridor, they arrived at a secret room. There were two people lying on the stone bed in the secret room. They were Ning Shi and Xiao Bao. After searching for so long, they finally found them. "How are they?" Lu Tingxiao's voice trembled as he approached. He reached out to touch the girl, but didn't dare to touch the wounds all over her body. Ning Shi's wounds seemed to have been treated, but he couldn't feel her breathing. Xiao Bao's body was moving up and down slightly. The man replied, "I'm fine. I'm not good with children, so I put him asleep for now. As for the big one," Lu Tingxiao asked, "How is the big one?" The man looked at the girl on the stone bed and sighed slightly. His expression was a little complicated. After a while, he considered his words and said, "I specialize in external injuries. I can only protect her for a while. Take her to the hospital immediately. I can't guarantee her life after that." The man's words gave Lu Tingxiao an ominous premonition. "Good. Thank you." China, Imperial City Hospital. After a difficult night of searching, Lu Tingxiao finally found Ning Shi and Xiao Bao. Yinshan didn't go to the hospital with them and only asked Danny to accompany them. Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan, who had been waiting for news at home, rushed to the hospital immediately. Lu Jingli also rushed over from the company. "Tingxiao, Where's Xiaobao? Where's my Xiaobao? Where's Xiaobao? Yin Rui's face was extremely pale and haggard. She clutched Lu Tingxiao's clothes tightly, her bloodshot eyes wide open in fear. Lu Chongshan panted heavily as he walked over with the support of his walking stick. How's Xiaobao? Huh? Lu Jingli looked at Lu Tingxiao standing in front of the operating room in a daze. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Brother, is Xiaobao? After a while, Lu Tingxiao finally said, Xiaobao is fine. Yin Rui, Lu Chongshan, and Lu Jingli were all stunned when they heard Lu Tingxiao's words. What? Tingxiao, what did you just say? Brother, you said Xiaobao is fine? Tingxiao, tell me the truth. Don't comfort Mom. How is Xiaobao? As long as he's not dead. Even if he's on his last breath, I won't ask for much. Looking at the anxious Lu family members, Tang Lang, who was leaning against the wall, said, Stop arguing. Didn't I already say that everything is fine? He's upstairs in the ward. You can go and see for yourselves. When Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui heard this, they rushed upstairs with Lu Jingli's help. As soon as the three of them walked to the door of the ward, they saw a doctor in a white coat coming out of the ward. Doctor, how's our Xiaobao? The person who treated Xiaobao was the vice president. When he saw the two of them, he quickly said, Old Master Lu, Old Madam Lu, don't worry. Your grandson is safe and sound. He only suffered some superficial injuries. He's still unconscious now, but he'll wake up soon. Hearing the doctor's words, Yin Rui was stunned. She couldn't believe her ears. Doctor, what did you just say? You said Xiaobao is fine? Do you think our Xiaobao is fine? Yes, you can visit him now. You can go in and see him. The deputy director comforted. Okay, I'll go now. I'm going now. The three of them rushed into the hospital. Sure enough, they saw the little fellow lying on the bed, perfectly fine. Yin Rui grabbed the little fellow's hand. It was warm. She touched the little fellow's beating heart and the steady breathing on the tip of his nose. Only then did she finally believe that the person in front of her was alive and well. Xiaobao is alive. My Xiaobao is still alive and well. God bless us. God bless us. Yin Rui couldn't hold it in any longer. She held on to Xiaobao's hand and started sobbing. Lu Chongshan was also so emotional that tears streamed down his face. He originally thought that Xiaobao was doomed this time. He never imagined that Xiaobao would actually return to their side in one piece. Lu Jingli's expression became increasingly grim as he looked at his excited parents and the safe and sound Xiaobao. Dad, Mom, I'm going downstairs to see my sister-in-law. I don't know how she's doing. Chapter 17:12. Yes, there's also that girl. Yin Rui suddenly remembered. Take care of Xiaobao. I'll go down and have a look. Lu Chongshan looked at Xiaobao reluctantly and touched the little fellow's warm face. Only then did he leave with Lu Jingli and headed downstairs. Yin Rui watched the two of them leave with a worried look on her face. When Lu Chongshan and Lu Jingli went downstairs, the red light of the operating room was still on, and Ning, she was still in there. How's the girl? Lu Chongshan asked. Lu Tingxiao had been sitting on the cold bench with his head down. He didn't respond to his father's words at all. Tang Lang snorted. Her arms, abdomen, left and right legs. She was shot everywhere. Her scapula was fractured, 3 of her ribs were broken, and her head was... Lu Chongshan's face turned paler with every word Tang Lang said. He had seen the girl's injuries in the video. How could he not know? Lu Jingli didn't know what to say. He walked up to Lu Tingxiao and put his hand on his stiff shoulder to comfort him. Sister-in-law is very lucky. She'll be fine. Lu Tingxiao still didn't respond. Lu Jingli knew that he wouldn't listen to any comforting words, so he told him to stay there quietly. His own brother didn't say anything, but Tang Lang was a powder keg. Lu Jingli was so anxious that he was walking around in circles. When he saw Annie at the corner, he hurriedly walked over as if he had seen his savior. Hey, you must be my sister-in-law's friend. That little divine doctor called Annie, right? Annie nodded. She looked absent-minded. How is my sister-in-law? She'll be fine with you, right? Lu Jingli asked anxiously. Annie glanced at him and said calmly, I couldn't help. No matter how powerful she was, she couldn't replace the modern medical system. Besides, the mysterious man had treated Brother She perfectly. Even she couldn't have done it so well. If Brother She hadn't met that man, he wouldn't have survived until he came to the hospital. After saying that, she didn't say another word. She just continued to stare at the operating room. Lu Jingli looked into Annie's eyes, and for some reason, he saw an ominous sign in the depths of her eyes. Time ticked by. The operation lasted from late at night until dawn, but it was still not over. At 6 o'clock in the morning, the red light in the operating theater dimmed with a thud. The door of the operating theater was finally opened from the inside. 2 surgical assistants walked out first, followed by the chief surgeon. The doctor's entire body was drenched in sweat, and his surgical gown was sticking to his body. After he came out, he took off the mask on his face, revealing a pained expression. Everyone's heart skipped a beat when they saw the doctor's expression. At this time, Yin Rui had also rushed over. She was chanting and praying with her eyes closed. When she saw the doctor coming out, she immediately went up and asked, Doctor, how was the operation? What happened to the child? Under everyone's gaze, the doctor deliberated over his words before saying, I'm very sorry. We've tried our best to save him, and the surgery was very successful. However, the patient's injuries are too severe, and he still hasn't woken up. The patient is currently unable to breathe on his own, and his brainstem reflexes and brain waves have disappeared. Chapter 17:13. Hearing the doctor's answer, everyone was stunned and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. After a long time, Lu Jingli asked agitatedly, What do you mean by involuntary breathing? What do you mean by brainstem reflexes disappearing? Aren't these descriptions used to describe a dead person? Doctor, can you explain it more clearly? The chief surgeon was the director himself. He knew how important this surgery was, but he could only speak the truth. The patient is now in a deep coma. Currently, we can only use the ventilator and medicine to maintain the patient's signs of life. Once the life support system is removed, the patient will die immediately. Following the doctor's words, the entire corridor fell into a dead silence. Yin Rui's face turned pale as she fell onto the bench. How could this be? How could this be? Lu Tingxiao sat there like a statue, motionless. The doctor paused and looked at Lu Tingxiao. My condolences, family member. I'm sorry, but I still have to ask, do we continue to maintain the patient's life or remove the life support system and let the patient leave in peace? What will happen if we continue to maintain the patient's life? After a while, Tang Lang asked with a trembling voice, If we continue to maintain the patient's life, he will be in a vegetative state and may lie in bed for the rest of his life. Generally speaking, even if we use machines and medicine to maintain the patient's life, it can only last for a dozen years at most because the patient's life functions will gradually deteriorate over time. The doctor replied and sighed. Although this was considered living, it was actually suffering. With every word the doctor said, everyone's hearts grew colder. Of course, we continue to maintain the life support. Even if he is in a vegetative state, there will be a day when he wakes up. Lu Jingli hurriedly said. The doctor nodded. That's right. Although the chances of this happening are very small, there are many precedents. Do you still need to ask? Of course, we continue to maintain the life support. Lu Jingli immediately made a decision. The doctor looked a little uncertain. In the end, he turned to Lu Tingxiao and asked, Boss Lu, you mean? Lu Jingli saw that the doctor was still questioning his brother and was extremely anxious. Asking his brother this kind of question wasn't like stabbing a knife into his heart. After an unknown amount of time, the man's hoarse and broken voice finally sounded in the empty corridor. Continue to maintain the life support. Okay, I understand. The doctor sighed and left. In the VIP ward. At this moment, the girl who had always been as carefree as the wind was lying quietly on the bed. Her body was covered with cuts and bruises, and she had lost all consciousness. She could only rely on the ventilator to maintain her life. Lu Tingxiao sat in front of the hospital bed expressionlessly. He carefully picked up the girl's small hand that was covered with small scars and kissed it very gently. It seemed that he was afraid of disturbing her, even though he knew that she might never wake up again. Xiaoxi, I'm sorry. Forgive my selfishness. I can't let you go, sorry. Outside the door, Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan did not go in due to self-blame and guilt. They looked at the situation inside the ward through the window with a solemn expression. They saw that their eldest son, who was always serious and apathetic, who would not bat an eyelid even when faced with great difficulties, was now holding the girl's hands and burying his head in his hands. His shoulders were trembling, and he was sobbing uncontrollably. Chapter 17:14. All this time, they had misunderstood her, doubted her, and denied everything she had done for Xiaobao. They believed that she would definitely hurt him. But, in the end, when Xiaobao was in danger, she was the only one who had risked everything to protect him. Under those circumstances, she had protected Xiaobao unscathed while facing those jerks. Yet, Yin Rui had been injured to such an extent that she might never wake up again. Yin Rui's heart clenched with guilt and regret as the scene of the girl carrying Xiaobao and running at full speed despite being shot appeared in his mind. He recalled the scene of the girl's first reaction at the moment before the artillery shell arrived to protect Xiaobao firmly under her body. What kind of pain and torture did this girl have to endure to ensure Xiaobao's safety? Even if she didn't understand, she could tell that the girl was very skilled. With her skills, if she hadn't been carrying Xiaobao, she might have been able to escape. Moreover, this disaster had nothing to do with her, yet she had gone to such lengths for Xiaobao. She really liked and loved Xiaobao. This kind of love was no less than a mother's love for her child. How could a mother harm her own child? Yin Rui looked at the girl in the ward, who was covered in wounds, and was drowning in regret. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have misunderstood that girl. She was someone Tingxiao trusted so much. Xiaobao liked so much. Why didn't I try to get to know her better? If I had believed Tingxiao and Xiaobao believed that girl, none of this would have happened. Now that this girl is in this state, how am I going to face Tingxiao? When Xiaobao wakes up, how am I going to explain things to him? Lu Chongshan stood there in a daze as he listened to his wife's sobs. In just one night, his hair had turned completely white, and he looked like he had aged 10 years. His grandson had been saved, but as he looked at the girl in the ward, the Lu family owed this girl too much. Even if they did everything they could, they wouldn't be able to repay her. One wrong step led to many wrong steps. Because of his stubbornness, he had almost killed his grandson. In the end, an innocent person had to suffer the consequences. If he could, he would rather he had been the one to suffer the consequences. But now, there was no turning back. At the end of the quiet corridor, Annie stood in a daze for a long time before she finally picked up her phone and made a call. "Hello. How is she?" The man's husky voice came from the other end of the phone. Annie was silent for a long time. The person on the other end of the phone was silent as well. He didn't rush her. Half a day later, the girl took a deep breath and said, "The operation has just ended. Although it was a success, Brother Shi's injuries are too severe. He can't wake up and can only be kept alive with a ventilator. If I'm lucky, I don't know when I'll wake up, or maybe I'll never wake up." As soon as the girl finished speaking, there was no response from the other end of the phone. "Brother Shen?" Annie sounded worried. "It's okay. You stay there. If you can help, just do it." The man hung up the phone. In the darkness, the man stared blankly at the complicated strand diagram on the flickering computer screen and murmured softly, "Ha, these things. I'll give them to you as a dowry. If you don't wake up, other women will take advantage of them." Chapter 17:15. The sun rose, and its bright light shone over the entire city. The battle between the Lu Group and Elon Ventures ended with the Lu Group's victory. Elon Ventures suffered heavy losses due to the sharp fall in many of its important investments and the huge, liquidated damages from its partners. It had no choice but to sell a large number of Lu Corporation's shares to pay off its debts and withdraw from Lu Corporation's board of directors overnight. However, this matter had shaken the foundation of Lu Corporation. There were still many things to deal with, and the other side could fight back at any time. Lu Jingli seemed to have matured overnight. The playboy who used to be cynical and muddle along was now silently shouldering everything. This broken family and the chaotic company. Since the end of Ning Shi's operation, Lu Tingxiao had been accompanying the girl all the time. Lu Jingli turned his head away to hide his reddened eyes. He turned to look at the man in front of the bed and said seriously, "Brother, don't worry. I'll take care of the company and Mom and Dad. You just need to stay with sister-in-law. Don't think about anything else." He knew how much pain and regret his brother must be feeling right now. He still remembered the moment before the bad news came. Lu Tingxiao suddenly asked him to pick up Ning Shi and put her in his line of sight. He must have sensed the danger then. Lu Tingxiao tightened his grip on the girl's hands, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. What's the use of staying with her now? Although he didn't want to admit it, he clearly knew that those photos and his jealousy towards that man had caused him to lose his rationality and judgment in this matter. He wanted to solve all of this, but he had neglected the most important thing. He kept asking her to wait for everything to be settled. But now, she couldn't see it. If he had been a little more considerate, perhaps none of this would have happened. At the thought of this, great despair and regret swallowed him up. He thought, if only he had been more considerate, if only he had been calmer and not so radical, if only he hadn't provoked her from the beginning, if only he hadn't forced her into his world. She was so unrestrained, so free, so passionate, and the person she liked was the same as her. However, for him, she had slowly retracted her edges, folded her wings, changed herself bit by bit, wronged herself, and even risked her life for him. Maybe I was wrong from the beginning. I shouldn't have forced her to be with me. At this moment, the man's tone had faded all the arrogance and loneliness. He was so fragile that it seemed to break at the slightest touch. Lu Jingli had never seen the proud Lu Tingxiao look so fragile and decadent. His heart suddenly ached. "Brother, what nonsense are you talking about? Little Cece really likes you, okay?" Lu Jingli was anxious. Just as he was about to console her, his phone rang. It was Yen Rui. "Hello, Mom, what's wrong?" "Hey, Jingli, come over quickly. It's best if your brother comes over quickly as well. Lil Treasure is awake." Yen Rui's panicked voice came from the other end of the phone. Jingli suddenly became anxious. "Xiaobao woke up? Okay, I'm coming." Chapter 17:16. Downstairs in the ward. "Xiaobao, you're awake. Are you hungry? What do you want to eat? Grandma will get someone to make it for you." "Xiaobao, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Tell Grandpa." Yen Rui and Lu Chongshan carefully helped Xiaobao up and stood in front of the bed. The two of them asked each other anxiously. On the hospital bed, the little fellow had already changed into a clean hospital gown and was sitting there quietly. There was a small band-aid on the back of his hand. There was no expression on his pale little face. His gaze slowly fell on Yen Rui and Lu Chongshan, who had been talking to him all along. This was the scene that Lu Jingli and Lu Tingxiao saw when they rushed over. The two old men had been talking to the child worriedly. Xiaobao, who was surrounded in the middle, sat quietly on the bed. His little face was expressionless, and his eyes were like a pool of stagnant water. There was no light in them, as if only his shell was left here. "Jingli, Tingxiao, come and see Xiaobao." "What's wrong with Xiaobao? He's been in a daze ever since he woke up. There's no reaction at all. He won't speak even when we ask him." Yen Rui looked flustered. Lu Jingli walked over to hug the little fellow and patted his shoulder. "Xiaobao, don't be afraid. It's all right now. You're safe now. No bad people will hurt you anymore. Look, Grandpa, Grandma, and us are all here. We'll protect you." At this moment, the door opened and Xingwu hurriedly walked in with several boxes of food. "Madam, the food is ready." "All right, bring it over quickly." Yen Rui hurriedly took it from him. "Xiaobao, You haven't eaten for so long. You must be hungry. Do you want to eat something? Yes, yes, yes. Eat something first. The few of them busied themselves for half a day. However, no matter what they said or did, the little fellow on the bed remained expressionless and did not respond at all. Yin Rui's hands trembled as she held the boxes of food. She burst into tears. What should we do? Lu Chongshan closed his eyes, and his face was filled with disappointment. In the end, he had harmed Xiao Bao. Under the patient company of that girl, Xiao Bao had already completely recovered. He had become so lively, scary, smart, and adorable. But now, he had become even worse than before. Lu Jingli's eyes were red as he said, Xiao Bao must know. He knows that little Cici did it for him. He doesn't want to wake up so that he doesn't have to face these things. The atmosphere in the ward was stagnant. After who knew how long, Lu Tingxiao, who had been silent all this time, walked to the bed and looked at his son, who had a blank look in his eyes. I'll take you to see her. Hearing this, Yin Rui became anxious and said in a low voice, How can we do that? Lu Chongshan frowned and said, Lil Bao has suffered such a huge fright. He's already in a terrible situation. If you were to see that girl like this, Lu Tingxiao bent over and picked up his son from the bed. He will have to face it sooner or later. But this is too cruel. Although Yin Rui knew that this matter couldn't be hidden, she still couldn't bear it. Lu Tingxiao held his son and went upstairs to Ning Shi's ward. At the door, Lu Tingxiao gently put his son down. The little fellow stood at the door, and his eyes fell mechanically on the bed in the middle of the room. There was a woman lying on the bed. Her face was pale, and her body was covered with bandages. She was wearing a respirator, and her body was connected to countless complicated wires and tubes. It looked terrible. The person who was lying on the hospital bed, looking very scary, was his mother. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.